Hello, everybody, and welcome. We're D&D Boyband, and we've just been broken a little bit. A group of friends all like to play D&D Pretty Boys, because apparently it's not fantasy unless everybody's hot. This is the original D&D campaign set in the critical role world of Exandria, taking place about 10 years after the events of CR1. We did initially start in Craghammer, moving down towards Imon. We are now 2 years into this campaign, and we haven't yet got to Imon. So I'm Judge of us, Jamie. Joining me tonight are the Spice Boys. Unfortunately, Luke playing Aska will not be able to attend. I hope he gets better soon. However, we do have Clued as Rasha, Eski as Zug, Clued as Barnes. Apology. Eski as Zug, Sai not on camera but still here as Aku, Luke as Lauren as Roman, and Erin as Hayden. Before we begin, Erin, do we have any announcements?
We are doing an art giveaway! Woo! So, if you would like to take part in our art giveaway, encourage your friends to follow our stream, because we're not doing it till we hit 300 followers. I need to update the tracker on the stream. We are currently at 260 followers. So once we hit 300, we'll be doing a special art giveaway on our social channels that everyone can take part in. And the winner will receive some beautiful artwork drawn by the lovely Clued and also by myself. So we'll do a little art live stream when that happens. Although, depending on how soon the art that we hit 300 followers might depend on when we have to do it, because if it happens once I go to Canada, I won't be able to stream the art, but we'll make it happen somehow. So, yeah.
We'll make it work.
Yeah, so follow sooner and then the art happens sooner. That's how it works.
But not too soon, else our poor fingers won't be able to make the art.
Oh, yeah. Why did we create this goal? Why are we creating work for ourselves? Should we change it? We've not hit 300 yet. It's not too late.
Yeah.
What if 300 people unfollow?
Jamie will film himself dancing.
Oh my god, yes.
Oh,
okay.
wait, no, so we haven't actually done PogChamp
so
yet.
when we hit 300, Jamie will do a dance.
I will pick a TikTok dance.
Oh my god, yes. I think you should do the, that song by Twice. Yeah, I don't know how it goes.
You have very different TikTok recommendations.
you were the only person here who uses TikTok, I think.
Me?
I have it installed.
Oh, I know, I use TikTok.
No, Clued uses TikTok. She makes really cute videos of her cat.
Don't out me like this. I don't use TikTok, I swear it, Mum, I swear.
Anyway, back to D&D. Unfortunately, apparently. So, last session, the group continued their journeys across the Barbed Fields. However, realizing that something was a bit off about Rasha, especially once upon touch, they killed Thaddeus, the Moorbender. However, it turned out the Ghost had Moorbounder. However, it turns out that Ghost had possessed, taken control, claimed Rasha in some way. And despite dispelling it temporarily, the following night, it came again. And this resulted in Zug and Ghost and Rasha having a chat on top of an obelisk before being interrupted by Roman, who dispelled the enchantment upon the obelisk that seemed to be chaining a giant dragon turtle. As Rasha and Ghost seemed to disappear into the one being teleported away, one being dispelled, a hand reached out through the ground, grabbing hold of Roman's foot to reveal a interesting figure, once long beneath the ground, believing themselves to be dead and believing themselves to be of a different age. Having murdered a kobold that ran up to you, you have all run away. Approximately a couple of hours riding away as this gigantic dragon turtle turns and shifts and clearly awakens after a long time slumbering. You guys had a few chats on the Warbounders on the way over, where Hayden might have been given a bit of a verbal bitch slapping by one of the assassins, A&R. And the rest of you had just about had some time to discuss what had happened, the events, however you were still letting it digest. So I will throw it back to you, D&D Boyband. You are looking around. Roman has spent a significant period of time looking quite shell-shocked. The rest of you were kind of interrogating Barnes a little bit, looking back, wondering if anybody could speak to it, wondering if you were going to walk around it, what you were going to do. I believe the discussion was about whether or not you were going to try and continue your long rest or not.
So are we a safe distance from this
You
thing?
you
How
are you
far we
think you are a
feeling?
safe distance. On the horizon, you can see its massive form move, but you are several hours ride from where you were.
Okay. And are we all together? Is Hayden currently having shenanigans with the assassins, or?
No, that
No,
happened
so
when we were
yeah,
on the
we-
Moorbounders earlier, so...
yeah, this is while you were
Right.
traveling over. So it was we kind of retconned that a little bit, moved backwards in time. But that's happened. It was just there
Right.
might be some implications of that conversation now. So thought better to get it out of the way.
Right, okay.
So
Am I still magically hungover?
no, that was cured.
What? Really? Even
No, because
though...
you guys slept like halfway through. I'd say, no, sorry, you're not drunk anymore. Whether or not you're hungover after half a night's sleep is up to you.
I'll do a constitution check to find out. Let's see. What do you think with a 5, Jamie?
I think that Hayden's a lightweight who doesn't recover very quickly.
Oh no. Okay, good to know.
So, taking stock of the party, what sort of shape is everyone in? Like, how is everyone looking at the moment?
Very, very good. Which is probably a bit unfair, and I must be the only one.
Roman is solemnly staring into middle distance.
Hayden is sat kind of hunched over on a log or a rock or whatever, and just like wishing he could be asleep.
Ascor is looking around, giving daggers to everyone. But I think from a HP and like overall point of view, I don't think the party looked particularly hurt or injured.
Then Barnes will probably approach the only cheerful or at least merry-looking one, Zug, and softly say to him, "So why is everybody so miserable? What's going on?"
Well, we may have... Well, I don't know how to explain this, really. We've almost died quite a few times, and I feel like that's made people a bit upset.
What's upsetting about that?
Well, you know, it's just very nice, isn't it? I mean, you know, I want to say, like, a few weeks... Well, not even a few days ago, that one, and he points at Aku, and he points at... and the one that disappeared, were actually in the stomach of a monster, and almost got eaten. So I imagine they're probably not too happy about that.
Well, that does weigh upon the consciousness a little bit. I can understand that.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, how come you're all right?
Oh, I don't know, I just had a good night's sleep, I guess.
I do find that a good night's sleep fixes everything.
Yeah, it does, actually. I don't really know why, I just feel quite refreshed, to be honest.
Speaking of,
But I almost died as well. I think I actually got brought back to life, like, 2 times.
well, fantastic! Congratulations.
Yeah, it was a weird feeling, actually.
Speaking
I
of,
feel like I should think about it more, but...
he raises his voice and addresses the rest of you. Would y'all like some sleep? I could probably keep watch if you just want a little bit of a nap. Everything will seem a lot better in the morning. You just seem a little dour. How do I put it?
Hayden kind of glances at Barnes but doesn't respond. He kind of glances around to the other guys in the group to be like, gauge their reactions to the offer.
That's a good offer.
Roman, like, stares at Barnes with an incredulous expression.
Wait, how far away from the dragon turtle are we right now?
Hiding. Let me check. I think you're probably about 20-ish miles.
Oh, okay.
4
So
hours
how
riding.
tired are the Moorbounders looking at this point?
I mean, Thaddeus was kind of roused from death and brought back. Like, he was the biggest and
That's what I
toughest moorbounder, but right now he looks a little bit like a kitten.
Did the party get a full rest last night, or was it
No.
interrupted?
No, we were
Interrupted. You need to continue it.
Yeah. No, I was under the impression that we were fleeing the big thing, but if we're far enough away, probably should long rest.
I could play you all a song if it'd help. A little bit of a bedtime lullaby, maybe.
Oh, I love songs.
Right. Any favorites? Although, to be honest, I probably am not going to know them. I imagine the music's not the same 900 years after I lived.
Well, you know, kind of songs you'd hear in a pub or a tavern.
Are you trying to deliberately bring every hungry creature within earshot of us directly towards an all-you-can-eat buffet?
Well, I tend to find if I play music, things stop and listen peacefully rather than try and attack. It's quite nice, really. We have our own little symphony out in the desert sometimes.
Wait,
And you've
where's
been
the
in this
all-you-can-eat
desert
buffet?
recently.
Well, not
Because one-
recently, but
Things have changed around here since you were lost. Alive.
oh, you've got that right. DM, how different does this feel? How different does the Barbed
Looking
Fields
around,
feel?
you see ruins and architecture that tickles something in the back of your mind as once would have been like this is a desolate desert compared to like what once would have been a humming city of magic, towns, hamlets, roads going through, a very active area, troops and various kind of trades going through all the time, and now just a wasteland.
Well, a hungry creature's a hungry creature. 900 years ago or now. If they wanted
Yes.
to listen then, I'm sure they'll want to listen now.
Usually, I find hungry creatures tend not to listen to little jolly magic men who've sprung out of the fucking earth. So, if you don't mind keeping your mouth shut so we can get a good night's sleep and get on our way in the morning, that would be.
Hey, don't be so hasty. I'm a hungry creature, and I'd quite like to listen to a song.
Bonds laughs. In that case, I wish you a very good night, and I look forward to getting to know you better when you're a little less grumpy.
Quick, out of character question. Roman had done his meditation before we were interrupted.
Yeah, so Romans had a full rest, I think.
Okay.
It's mostly just you, Askell, and
Aku?
Aku that probably look a bit rough.
Yeah. Wait, what about Zug? Doesn't he need a sleep?
According to my thing, no. Like, maybe he's tired, like, but I haven't taken damage in a while.
You'll get a point of exhaustion, though, if you don't rest.
Either that, like, remember I wasn't here for like 2 sessions ago, so maybe someone didn't update my HP on something, but if you guys didn't go into combat, then
Yeah, we didn't go combat, so you
Yeah,
you
it's just
should be full health.
exhaustion.
Mhm.
Yeah.
then it'd just be tiredness, yeah.
Oh, and another question. When Roman strangled Hayden, last session, did that leave any, like, bruises or, like, signs of damage?
Well,
Was
Roman's
it a
pretty-
gentle strangling, or was it like, I'm trying to kill you strangling?
Yeah. How
So-
erotic was it?
it was not at all right. Sorry,
Whose
I burst
opinion?
Here's my grandfather.
So maybe
That's a question for Hayden, really, isn't it?
maybe a couple of sessions ago it wouldn't have hurt, but Roman has the Gauntlets of Ogre power on now, so it is entirely possible that he did not
Proper.
know exactly how much he was hurting Hayden.
Okay. Hayden's neck probably is pretty bruised up then.
Mhm.
That's nice. Not in the nice way, unfortunately. But anyway, moving on from that thought, Hayden's gonna kind of glance to Roman. He's still kind of keeping a little bit away from him, but he's like, I don't know. I appreciate this guy's offer, but I would feel more comfortable if someone that we knew was doing the watch. Are you rested enough, or do you still
I'm a
need
bit
to
sleepy,
sleep?
but I could stay awake.
One of
Roman
you
just
guys?
stands up and says, "I will keep the perimeter," and then just stalks off and starts like walking a perimeter.
Cool. Cool. That's cool. Alright.
Oh, so are we sleeping?
Yeah, we're gonna sleep now.
You turn around for like a second, you turn back, and like Doug in full armor is already just laid on a bedroll, and he's like kind of beginning to snore.
Gosh.
It's like been 5 seconds.
Um,
He's out of it.
Askell has like waited for Zug to make his tent, So he's probably not going to do it. Half. And just like started doing it himself and will fall asleep very quickly soon.
Asgore is doing his own tent? I can't believe
In a half.
It looks like a mess, doesn't it?
Yeah.
What's the weather like in the Barbed Fields? Like, what's the temperature like? Could you just like sleep on a bedroll? Would it be like?
Yeah, it's like you feel like looking around. It's a bit of a dust bowl. It should be warmer, but there's some kind of magic that the temperature doesn't change too much. And it doesn't. It never gets super light. It never gets super dark. The whole thing seems to almost be hazy. Weather doesn't seem to really be a thing here. It almost seems to be pushed off by the magic.
Interesting.
The assassins here, Jamie.
They would have gone off and made their own camp after talking to Hayden, but
Okay.
if anybody wants to go talk to them, they can.
Sure. I guess having slept for 900 years, Barnes is not feeling particularly tired.
No.
So I think he's probably pleasantly taking in the surroundings, looking up at the stars a little bit. And while everyone goes to sleep, Roman would probably see him slowly fiddling through the things in his pockets and trying to get a grasp of what's going on. And depending on Roman's insight, is it high?
I don't think so. Passive insight. Wait, passive wisdom perception or passive wisdom insight?
Insight.
Insight, yeah. It is 11.
Okay, yeah.
Passive
So
investigation, though.
he
It's
just
very
seems to
high.
be fairly pleasant, kind of fairly soft smile on his face going through his things and, yeah, trying to see what he can find. But,
Okay.
yeah.
Has Aku set up his tent yet?
Sorry?
I was muted. Yeah, he set it up like pretty early on in the conversation, and he's just sort of like sitting next to it, like looking out into the horizon.
Cool. So Hayden would probably approach Aku at this point and kind of glance over his shoulder at Roman and then kind of hesitate a bit and be like, "Can I sleep in your tent tonight?"
Aku kind of looks down at Hayden, and he doesn't really have the energy to say anything. He just sighs and beckons Hayden over to his tent.
Cool. And he gives him like a really awkward thumbs up and then goes to the tent and sets up his bedroll. Goes to bed.
Okay.
So I think that's us all sleeping.
Cool. Hayden, could you make a perception check at disadvantage for me?
Oh, no. Okay. I don't want to die again.
I mean, it's fine. Every time we make a perception check when we're sleeping, we seem to fail at the moment.
Oh man, reliable talent is
Never
so
get to
freaking
sleep.
good. 16.
16. Okay. You kind of roll over for a little bit, and you're not entirely sure, and you roll over for 1 second, and you roll back over, and when that happens, you think for a second that maybe there's like a flap of the tent, and you notice Aku's not there, and then you kind of close your eyes for a second, look up, and then Aku seems to be back.
Probably went to go pee on Asgore's tent again.
Oh.
Yes.
Cool.
Aku, you've had lots of people sleep in your tent, and I mean that in okay. You've had several of the party members sleep in your tent,
Wow.
and Hayden is the only one who's woken you up in the middle of the night. Hayden tosses and turns in his sleep like nobody you've ever kind of had the misfortune to share the bed with. It's not... There's muttering as well. Doesn't seem to be anything like possessing. Somebody is just having a terrible nightmare.
Is he like kind of saying anything, or like does he look pale? Is he like sweating?
A little bit of sweating. The word no is said a lot, alongside kind of take it away from me.
Does he look like? Is he like thrashing around hard enough to like hurt himself?
No.
Okay, I feel like if this is the first time Aku's seen it, he'll probably get up, stretch his legs, and then kind of, yeah, take a breather outside and ignore it for now.
Yeah, I'd say both of you probably noticed that neither one of you is the strongest or the heaviest sleeper in the party. Although obviously first night you probably just relax. Everybody else, could those on watch, so I believe that is Roman and Barnes, please make perception checks.
Absolutely. Oh, it's good. 22.
What did you get, Roman?
10. It was an 18 and then it rolled onto a 5.
Oh no.
Okay. With a 20, with a 10, and the rest of you will feel this as well, but like with that, there is a rumbling through the ground, a deep voice that reverberates even no matter how far you away. What's your passive insight? Roman?
Passive wisdom insight is 11.
Okay. It sounds in a way that this voice, it's difficult to kind of make out. It does sound like flint hitting and like boulders crossing. It's difficult, but it sounds very low, reverberates around. Barnes, with the 22, what's your passive insight?
14?
14. It's still like not a language you speak, so you're not quite sure, but all of you just hear this sound reverberating, and it's long, and it's long, it goes on, the syllables seem incredibly lengthy. Whatever this creature is, it's not in a rush to say whatever it is, but it is saying it, and if the Barbed Fields can hear it, you'll probably see, Barnes with the 22, things scattering away from this this sound.
With my feature knowledge from a past life, could I have a think about was there a big ancient dragon turtle back here? Was there one hanging out around here? Do I remember anything about him?
Yeah, go for it.
Oh, I should do that after seeing the roll, but okay. Oh, nice. And this is this history?
History, yeah.
That's a 21.
Is that with your bonus as well, with the +6?
Yes.
Cool. Could everyone else please mute?
Oh,
so soon. So soon.
tell me things.
Oh,
Good.
okay. I'll take my headphones off so the stream can still hear.
Sorry, I'm just trying to figure out how to deafen.
Deafen and mute, sorry, yeah.
That's a like headphones button.
Yeah. So deep digging into your mind, you think about it, and you have that little flash as something peels back, and there is you remember those pillars being made, and it was long ago, and the turtle was a lot smaller then, but something about those pillars drained. It was powering something. You remember it was all worth it. And you remember that the creature was wrong anyway. It was a servant of Sarenrae and opposed somebody. But you remember that it was bound here to serve as punishment and for service. But you don't remember anything else.
Okay. Ooh, that's spicy.
The secrets.
Keep waving at Eski.
We'll never get Eski back.
No, or Sai. Hello.
Oh yeah, Sai's still in Deafen too.
Oh no, let's at them in player chat.
Yeah, I said back to both of them. Anyway, yeah, that's where we are. So
Sai's back now.
yeah, with the 22 as well, you'll probably see the. You seem to be paid particular attention. You know that nobody's really spoken to you about who the two figures are that have made camp nearby, but they're wandering as well, and you'll notice that both of them are pretty trained on you. They obviously have some connection to the rest of the party, and are like, the fuck is this bitch?
I'll just give them a friendly wave, a little like hello, if ever they look in my direction.
Are you holding your rapier?
No, I think it's probably sheathed. But he would just be going through his belongings, So, I guess investigating the big case on his back, rediscovering a large wooden dulcimer that's very, very patterned in like pretty intensely carved woodwork with a little hammer strapped to the side for batting the strings with. Going through his pockets, upturning everything, pulling out little boxes that he spends the whole night fiddling with.
Yeah, they don't seem to approach. They do not wave back.
Oh.
There's something about the way they move though that is familiar. Itches in your mind. The rest of you wake up. Next day, nothing has happened, but this slow, mournful tones are still filling the air. Whatever this creature is saying, it has been saying it for a while, or it takes a long time in whatever language it has been saying. It seems to be calling out across the fields. In this sound, again, like boulders rotting over boulders, rocks fitting and just reverberating through the ground. It's even those of you laying to the ground, you might see like sand shake a little bit as this creature, whatever it is, calls out. However, you will complete your long rest. You will wake up. Nothing approaches you. This creature seems to be keeping things away from you. This close proximity to it, and it is a new day for the D&D Boyband.
Do I lose my point of exhaustion?
Yes, you do.
Yay. Long rest. Hayden kind of emerges from his tent in the morning, looking a lot more chipper than he did the day before. So... y'all okay?
No, it was awful. I had a terrible night's sleep. Zug, why didn't you make my tent?
Oh, sorry, I fell asleep.
Don't forget next time. Your raise depends on it.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll make sure to do better next time.
What does Ascor's tent look like this morning? Is it like a collapsed pile of sticks?
So it looks more like a teepee with like one central pole that has kind of just got stuff around it. Like the rest of it's scattered around. He seemingly has just made something that functionally lifted off the ground and has slept beneath it.
Oh, Ascor.
Oof, that's rough, buddy.
Yes, it was. Well, have you worked out what you're good at yet?
Was
Bit
that
of
to me?
bombs. Yes.
I told you what I'm good at. I'm really good at playing the dulcimer, the viola. I'm a great motivator. I dance pretty well as well. Also, I can stick things with my pointy sword. And what else do you need to know? I'm pretty good at maths as well.
Well, I'm not planning a
That's
dinner
difficult.
party out here. Maybe when we get back, I can hire you for that. But why should we take you along?
Well, I'm not
Well,
a
you said he's
musician,
good at
though. It's a
maths.
hobby.
Maths is very difficult.
So sticking things with your pointy is your main profession?
No, think of me as more like... I don't know how to explain it. I'm not a therapist or a counselor. I'm more like a developer and you're the product. I'm here to help you along on your journeys.
Ascor mulls this over. You may just identify Ascor as your primary audience.
Does that make it any more clear to you?
Actually, that's the most sense I've heard in a while.
Fantastic. I'm so glad we're on the same page.
You know, I needed help once to maintain my best self. I got there, but, you know, just others need help.
Actually, do you have anything for this, speaking of needing help? And he's holding in his hand, like, a disc. And he seems to be twiddling with a dial on the top of it, like, cranking it to and fro. And occasionally he's, like, fingering or swiping through the air or, like, twiddling with his thumb. And it just seems to be doing nothing. And he just looks very perplexed.
Is it a fidget spinner?
You're not really sure what it is. It's a disc with a little dial on it. And he seems to be trying to interact with the air above it. And
Checks
yeah.
out.
Yeah, a fidget spinner, basically.
What is that?
I'm not sure. But it's sort of a muscle memory thing, you know. And he's just swiping left, swiping right, up and down on the air. It doesn't do anything, but I feel like it should.
Looks like one of those toys my father has.
Father has toys. I thought it was a
On
very
his
poor
desk,
person.
keeps him amused, you know. flick, 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 flick.
See, the thing is, none of my boxes do anything. Like, I have all these little, and he pulls out, like, it's almost like a kind of charm ring, which is just loads of, like, dangling crystals on loops and chains. None of these do anything, or this, and he pulls out a few boxes, and they seem to have, like, loads of complex runes and twiddling mechanisms, and he's just spinning stuff, and he's like, I can't make them do anything at all.
Can I... Sorry. In character. Could I have a look at that?
If you'd like to, sure.
Hayden will approach and kind of poke at one of the various devices that he has. Can I figure out what any of them do, or do I recognize any of them?
Make an Arcana check.
Ooh. That is a 17.
These might once have been arcane devices. You recognize that there's presumably some level of arcane power in these crystals once have been, but they're really... There's no kind of hint as to their purpose, what they would do if they were fully charged, so and how you'd even charge them. You have no idea.
I don't know what they do.
Well, that makes two of us. I just have a load of boxes of crap.
Roman, does this look familiar to you?
Roman was probably previously sullenly poking at the ground. He looks less annoyed than he did yesterday. In fact, like all shreds of annoyance and anger seem to be kind of like gone from him. He just sort of looks a bit like sad now. What is it you have there?
There are my boxes of crap that don't seem to do anything anymore. Do you know how to
They
open
used to.
them or make them do something?
Seldom is something created that has no purpose.
Exactly. I know they do something, I just don't know what.
He holds out his hand.
Tosses him the disc mechanism, maybe.
Roman ponders the disc mechanism.
When Roman kind of approaches to look at
make an
the
Arcana check.
mechanisms, Hayden kind of takes a step back, so he's just out of arm reach.
Strangling range.
Yeah.
Sorry, what check? Sorry, Jimmy?
Make an Arcana check.
Do I get advantage from any of my research that I've done? Or...
From where you are, go for it, yes.
Well, that was a sure as heck natural one and went up to a dirty 20.
Looking at these, it's not like any arcane device you've ever seen. And you presume it must be an arcane device. Some energy here or some source of power is missing. What it would do when turned on, you don't know. You look at the rest of kind of Barnes' trinkets, and some of them tickle something in the back of your mind that you would have once seen, maybe in a library book or a museum long ago. But nothing kind of gives you a hint as to what they're for.
Without adequate reference materials, it's difficult to make head nor tails of these. However, people back in Rosona have been studying ancient items from the Barbed Fields for centuries, indeed since the Calamity. I feel if you were to desire finding out the true purpose behind your little trinkets, so that would be a natural place for you to head.
Oh, that's so helpful of you. I knew you'd be in a better mood in the morning, so I really appreciate the kindness you're showing me. Rosona, that's the new name for... What did you say yesterday? It is the new name for Gordranus, isn't that right?
Yes, that is correct.
Right. Alright, I guess I'll go back and ask somebody there. Thanks. You're feeling better though, right?
Yes, thank you. And, I would like to formally offer you an apology for my behavior towards you yesterday. I'm sorry. I have
No need to
excuses.
apologize. It's really quite alright. I'm quite resilient to these things.
Indeed. And Roman turns towards Hayden and doesn't make any attempt to move towards him, but he sort of like bows
Hayden
his head.
does flinch a little bit.
And Hayden, I am terribly sorry about the way I treated you yesterday. I offer you no excuses, only my deepest and most sincerest apology. And on your own terms, I should seek to follow however you should choose to go on. And he sort of like looks at the ground, looks at Hayden, and then just like steps away and starts like fussing with like covering up where like the campfire was and just kind of doing stuff like covering their trails and stuff.
No, sad grandpa.
I'm actually out of Werther's originals.
No.
Nudge.
Hayden kind of stands there silently while Roman apologizes and just kind of nods to him at the end of it, but doesn't say anything in response. Not too good with words. Just like his player. Terrible at words.
So, if that's today, how do you guys want to proceed moving forward? Are you going to go around the turtle, go a completely different direction, go back towards it? What is the plan?
What's the quickest route towards the Arbor Exemplar from here?
So it would have been directly over a section of the turtle. You would need to go up and round if you wanted to avoid it. It would probably add a day or two to your journey, depending on how you guys roll.
And
Completely avoid this creature.
how many days do we have left on Hayden's timer, given that we've lost 3 days in the Wild
23,
Magic?
I believe.
Okay, that's not.
I think
super
we're
bad.
less than that.
I thought it was 24 last time, but I do keep forgetting.
I'll double check. I know I wrote it down in our chat.
It's been 7 days since you guys escaped prison. That's how long D&D days last, have you sure?
Oh my gosh.
God, it feels like a year ago.
Almost like we're having conversations in real time.
So on October 27th, we calculated that once Hayden wakes up next session, he'll have 22 days left.
Oh Jesus, okay.
But that was 10/27. So that was
You only have one session, so you're on 21 now.
yeah.
1 day since then, yeah. 21.
Yeah, okay, cool. I'm on 21 days. I'm gonna write it down in the campaign notes chat.
Yeah.
And in Roman's head, his knowledge of the way the geography of the Barbed Fields work, how long will it take them to get that going around?
You had 3 days to go. You could almost see it on the horizon. But now you're going to be 4 or 5, depending on how you go.
Also, another question. Would we be aware that 3 days passed?
Yeah, like those of you standing there saw the world like rotate. You saw the sun go across the field like 3 times. You might not feel it directly, but something freaky happened with magic.
Okay.
You guys that hasn't been confirmed to you. No one told you dates or anything, but the sun went across the sky 3 times.
Yeah.
And from the Arbor Exemplar, how long would Roman reckon it takes to get back from there once they've arrived at this stage? With the
So it would
turtle
have
on
taken a week. If you're going to avoid the turtle again, it'll be 8-9 days.
Okay, so that's actually not too bad, all things considered. It's still possible to go there and get back in time.
Yes.
I would suggest avoiding the ancient unshackled turtle. Will take us a little bit longer to reach our destination. However, possibly a safer route than going over.
I personally would like to avoid the giant sand turtle as much as possible.
Yes, and those weird leathery things that touch me. Disgusting.
Oscar, you know what a kobold is?
No,
Yes, you do. We've told you so many times.
I forget.
Well, that's a kobold, and it wasn't attacking you.
Do you not see it? It grabbed me.
Yes, curiously, actually, upon reflection, it seems like it was actually trying to help you.
Absurd.
Possibly stranger things have happened.
Not to me.
Hmm. Very well. Let us be on our way then.
Cool.
One thing I will say is that turtle's a lot bigger than I recall it. Seems to have rather expanded in its years.
You know this turtle?
Well, not personally, no.
Oh,
I just remember it was quite little.
Like,
how little
sorry.
is little?
Does he have a name?
a normal turtle, or
How much smaller are we talking, Jamie?
Like, you have a vague memory of it being like small island size rather than like this thing. It's probably 5 to 6 times bigger, you estimate, than the last time you saw it.
Well, it was probably about a fifth of the size it is now, so still absolutely massive, but smaller in comparison.
I wonder what it eats.
yeah, I mean, if it has indeed been in the ground as long as you, plenty of time to grow. Should
I
we
didn't-
not be asking how come you have not grown in that time?
I was going to say, and yet I've remained the same height exactly. Oh, fate is cruel. Though what
Maybe
I
that's
will
because
say,
it's a plant.
maybe it is a
Animal's
plant. You're quite correct. But what's quite nice for both him and for me is that we stayed in good. Well, he kind of looks up at his hands. I'm not rotting at all, so somebody clearly took quite a lot of care to preserve my corpse. So I'll take that.
That is rather curious as well.
Yes, I'll have to thank them when I see them.
Do you defer to any particular gods?
Gods? Oh no, I'm not really a man of the gods.
Hmm.
Are people men of the gods nowadays?
You could say that.
Plenty are. Plenty are.
Interesting.
Yes, the platinum dragon.
Our
Interesting.
friend Rasha is a follower of Geb.
What? What
Get-
now?
Geb. He's
I don't know who that is.
the god of
Where's
the
the nearest
Golden
god?
Forge.
Where would I find a god? Where's the nearest one?
I don't know if it works that way.
Hmm.
What do you mean it doesn't work that way? Where do they live?
Beyond the Divine Gate these days.
The what? Not in.
Hmm.
Oh.
Plenty has changed since you last walked these lands.
Wow, so the gods are just gone. And we're still deferring to them.
Well, gods used to be here on this plane.
Yeah, I mean, they used to hang out a bit, I think.
No.
And there was something about, Vasselheim. I think they were there and other
Vaseline?
places too. Vasselheim, it's a place. Right? It is, right?
Have I heard of this place before?
Yeah, would Roman know?
Yeah, you all would have heard of Vasselheim.
Oh, okay.
It is arguably the most famous city in Exandria.
Am I right? Did I make that up? Have I made up a name? It's quite possible.
No, you are correct.
Oh, yeah, I know that one too. I remember
So
now.
that's still around. Okay. Can't wait to go. Must have come on leaps and bounds. It's really exciting.
Wait, so did you used to know gods?
Probably. I mean, I can't exactly recall, but I must have done.
Are you a god?
If I was a god, I feel like I wouldn't have been in the ground. I probably would have been behind the gate or whatever.
No, never mind. Shall we go?
Let's. So much to talk about on the way.
So, I'm going to offer you guys the same thing again. Do you want to make individual rolls, or do you want to risk a worse or a better outcome, depending on how well you do, by gambling days of travel?
Jamie, this is not a question. We will always risk. We will
Yeah.
always gamble.
So, of your potentially 4 or 5 days travel, how many do you want to gamble in one roll?
All of them.
All of them.
Right.
Oh,
there-
wow.
there'll be no advantage on this. And whoever chooses it is going to be doing it for the entire time. So please roll for your 4 or 5 days of travel. Somebody
Survival
chooses a
is
survival
wisdom.
check.
So that must be Aku, right?
Aku's good at survival, right?
You don't have,
Swear on him.
unsurprisingly, you don't have a single wisdom character left.
Quite a lot of
No.
wisdom.
What have we
Sure.
done?
I've
Just say
got like,
sure.
yeah.
I have
If I could
plus
make an
6 on
Arcana check.
survival.
I don't
Yo,
know
that's
proficiency,
good.
so go for that one.
Yeah, but are you sure you want Ash?
I am sure. Can I give him a bardic inspiration if I'm just doodling a little tune on a viola in the Barbed Fields?
For one of the days, yes.
Fantastic.
Not for all
What?
5.
Have a bardic inspiration for your navigating.
Can,
I
can,
give him like a slap on the back.
What does that give me, sorry?
It's an extra D10.
can I tell Aku he looks very handsome today to give him inspiration?
Hmm. That's a 15.
Okay.
And then plus D10?
Yeah.
So
That's
what?
16. Could you roll a d10 for me?
Again?
Just a d10, yep.
2.
2. Okay. With Aku leading, with Roman's assistance, much of the day is traveled relatively unoccupied, unobstructed. This turtle, seemingly, as you can see it kind of thrashing off in the distance, you can feel the cracking of stone, the wrangling of chains, even now as it obviously is trying to free itself in some way. It seems to have scared the other creatures away from here. The only kind of obstruction you meet over the next couple of days is on 3 separate days, the continuous howling of that sorrow-filled wind. So could all of you make wisdom saving throws, 3 of them, please?
When would we be making these wisdom saving throws? Is it that by chance we would be near Aku?
Yeah, am I riding on his steed still?
Well,
Climbed upon his giant mount?
Is this roll happening when we're in asleep? Because I'm in Aku's tent.
Is it happening when I'm
No.
giving Aku a hug every day, once a day?
no, it's happening while you're traveling. So whoever is on a more bounded with Aku, which I think is just Ascor,
No,
Just
I
riding
wouldn't.
Thaddeus.
Aku wouldn't be on a Morbanda, he would be riding his
so none of you are near Aku.
antelope. Well, last time Barnes rode with Aku.
Am I still riding
It's still the
behind
case
him?
that Barnes is with.
I guess so, if he's allowed to be.
Or-
Up to
Okay.
you.
Okay, yeah, I'm happy with that. That's fine.
Wisdom
Okay.
saving throw, you say?
Wisdom saving throws, 3
Wisdom
of them.
save.
Okay, I managed to get 19, 18, and 21.
Oh, wait, we're
I
doing,
have
we're doing
no-
3 wisdom saving throws. Oh, Lord.
Yeah, my dice roll 20 is lagging out for me. I might need to
No,
pick
mind,
it
I
up.
rolled on D&D Beyond. So
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
D&D Beyond.
how I managed to roll.
So the DC is 15. You can tell me how many times you guys succeed or not.
So
3 times. Knows how.
I rolled a 17, a 9, and a natural 20. Yeah.
Nice. So, whatever your total is of failures, minus 1, that is what you arrive after your 5 days of travel at.
In
So if you
terms of
failed-
exhaustion points.
In terms of exhaustion points.
Oh,
Right.
okay. Oh, okay, not too bad.
So if you failed 2, you arrive with 1 point of exhaustion. If you failed 3, you arrive with 2, and if you failed 1 or 0, you arrive with 0 point of exhaustion. Now I'm aware we've essentially skipped 5 days.
Oh, great.
So you can take those. With that roll, you do not manage to do it in 4. It is in 15 as you arrive on the evening of the 5th day. So you can take 5 days off Hayden's count.
Yeah,
I'm aware that we've done a lot. Is there anything moving through the fields that you guys would want to talk to each other about? And we'll probably do some of the evenings.
I
Yeah.
think at some point, Barnes would have turned to Roman in a moment where he seemed a little more serene and says, "Do you know about that stress problem that you have? I've always found that the greatest weapon against stress is our ability to choose one thought over another. So arm yourself with helpful thoughts. And be ready to make that choice when the time comes. Do you know what I mean?
Did you say hopeful thoughts?
Helpful, hopeful. Sorry, I know my archaic accent is a little hard to understand.
No, indeed, Common is not my first language, so the fault lies with me. My apologies.
It's amazing you've kept the same language, actually.
Well, they have, I suppose. but by its nature, common. I guess it is just what it is. And helpful or hopeful thoughts are not often floating through my mind, so I will take your advice, but I fear it may not be applicable to me. Thank you.
Well, here's the thing, Roman. This is the only time you're going to experience today, so make it count, you know? If you spend the whole time floating around in misery, then...
Roman looks at him in chronomancy, like, well, time is not as linear as you may think it.
We one of them.
One of them.
Well, aren't all the Archmages trying to reverse time and all that?
Possibly they were. I obviously can't speak for those who came before me.
They were. Well, we stopped trying.
Well, in my studies, we have utilized the nebulous flow of time to offer ourselves more advantages, let's say, than reversing the course of history, if that makes sense. Simplest way I could put it.
Can't explain it, but that's actually quite disappointing to hear. I guess I'd sort of assumed that by now, really 900 years later, wouldn't be much of a problem.
I'm sorry to have disappointed you.
Well, and kind of as quickly as the disappointment comes, it sort of leaves in a flash, and he smiles and says, well, anyway, not a problem. I'm sure I'll adjust just fine. Like I said, make today count, and all that.
So,
so on the first, maybe not on the first night, but on the second night of travel, Hayden will have eventually approached Roman, and kind of as a peace offering, he will have sat near him at the campfire and pulled out the 9-sided box that he has from Essek, and say, I suppose we should probably start looking at this, huh? And he's gonna hand it over to Roman.
So Roman looks like cautious at first when Hayden moves over to him, having wanted to give him his space and kind of like, you know, not wanted to like force him to accept his apology and stuff. But when he hands the box over, his face visibly just like lifts, like he looks like a greedy little kid in a sweet shop, like knowing he's about to get one over on Essek Thalis. It's just sort of like totally brightens his mood. Are you sure?
Yeah, I mean, no better time than the present.
So I've heard.
Yeah.
Make it count.
Yeah, well...
Right you are, you hear from the other side of the camp.
The time you've got left, I suppose. Not you, I mean, I'm not saying you're old, I'm saying time is limited on this plane and,
For old people.
No, not for you. For me. But I guess, I don't know how old you are, or... Let's just look at the box, okay? Just never mind. And he kind of like turns a bit red as he gets embarrassed for putting his foot in it.
Rowan turns it over in his fingers sort of delicately, sort of like sweeps over it with like a little bit of magic, sort of like testing it here and there. And he sort of like looks at Hayden and says, you know, I must confess, I've thought about this moment almost every single night since you have brought this to me. And knowing that I could solve an unsolvable puzzle that Essek himself has sent halfway across the continent, and indeed across the globe. It's just bloody fantastic. So yeah, can I have a go?
cool. So, with assistance, you may make a straight intellect check with advantage for the first night.
What does with assistance mean?
So if either you and Hayden can roll separate intellect checks, or you can give either of you advantage.
I will give Roman advantage.
Okay, let's go. So,
Barnes can give you inspiration, I believe, if you choose to as well.
Yeah, if it's obvious that they're doing something, then yeah.
what does inspiration mean?
The
And-
D10.
Extra D10 to the roll.
Oh, shizzle. Okay, I might as well add that on D10.
The smartest man I know!
That's a 29.
29.
Not the best roll, not the worst roll.
Okay, so
He's a
on
genius.
your first night, you look at the box and you kind of mull it over, and you look at the one side that looks as if it's clicked into place already. And with Hayden kind of there prodding and going alongside you, and Barnes playing music that often you'd find distracting in study, but actually is somehow focusing and clearing your mind. You twist, you turn, you push, you prod, you cast spells, incantations. And by the end of whatever it is, one of the other 9 sides, you hear a as something clicks and satisfyingly pushes in ever so slightly. As one other side of this huge Rubik's Cube problem you think has been solved. It doesn't open, but you're one step closer, you hope, or you think. You have 4 nights, so if you could roll your second one, please. The second night.
When the first side like clicks in, Hayden gets really excited. He's like, "Oh, did you see that? Did you see? Oh my god, did that?" And he like gets like really like amped up.
Yeah, I imagine Roman probably fiddles on with it a couple of times after it's clicked in. Perhaps we should attack this from a different direction than at the night after some thought. I feel the need to potentially sleep on this and come back to it later. But
Okay, but that didn't do that before, so that's new.
that is new. That is one part.
That's good, right?
Yes. How are you feeling about it? Would you say you learned something from this?
Jamie, would you say that Hayden learned anything, or was what Roman doing just so like mystifying that he was like?
So do you know how like watching somebody quickly solve a Rubik's Cube looks? Like
Yeah.
with a 29? Like, Roman summoned his echo and was like approaching and prodding this at 2 different angles, and Hayden was just like...
I imagine Roman took the time out in the middle of something to like explain what he was doing, and probably was just like right in his like study brain and just kind of like explaining it in a really long-winded, stupid old man kind of way as well.
And using like really long, complicated words that Hayden's like nodding, but he definitely doesn't understand.
Okay, cool. So second night?
Second night. Same again, I presume? Inspiration as well as...
Hayden giving him advantage again.
Yeah,
He's
Bones
sitting there
probably
just...
is like hanging around watching it happen, leaning on a log, like, oh, cool.
Hayden's just eating a Werther's original, keeping quiet.
That's a 25 that time.
25. As you push onwards with this thing, the fact that you solved previous ones, you think would make it easier. It doesn't. The fact that part of this is now immovable makes the rest of it constantly be like push up and great. And you again summon the echo, mutter incantations, you see kind of the magic reverberate off this, and it's frustrating because it almost seems like a couple of times you've pushed or pricked it in and something else seems to have gone out of place. The boxes are like continuously always begins to rotate slightly, and you swear for a second that bits of it are moving and you haven't touched them, almost to tease you or jaunt you out of this. And it gets late, the fire embers begin to go low, everybody else has gone to sleep, and all you've kind of got is the vague strumming of the viola from Barnes and Hayden's encouraging words. And just before you're probably about to give up, and aware that this was much harder than the night before, even though you feel slightly less sharper and the DC might have been higher, the final thing goes thud, and the ball just shrills in your hands, ever so slightly smaller.
Well, I think that was supposed to happen.
I sure
maybe-
hope so. What'd you say, Barnes?
Oh, just very cool, very cool. You sure you're not an Archmage?
As flattered as I am, I'm perfectly sure.
You seem like them. Remind me of some I used to know.
Old.
You? No, not really. Well, I suppose they were, but they didn't act it anyway.
I imagine as well as the nights go on, like, and Hayden starts to get more used to Barnes being around, like, Barnes maybe starts to hang out a little bit closer to us as we're solving this puzzle throughout the nights, maybe?
Yeah, it's sort of
Yeah.
like a montage where, like, every night he's shifting slightly closer. So, like, first night he's calling across the camp, like, cheering motivationally, and probably by the last night he's, like, hunched over, staring at it intently.
So let's deal with the second night. As you will triumphantly kind of go to bed. Those of you who weren't involved in this maybe feel there's some sense of achievement, or the rest of you kind of are just fed up with the exhaustion and tiredness of traveling. You've kind of gone through the turtle. You can still hear it. It's not quite as loud, but occasionally it is like calling out, and maybe some of you wonder what it is calling out to. And as that reverberation goes through the ground, Zug, who's in your tent? Is it the
Who's in my
Ascor?
tent?
Or is it just you and Ascor?
I don't think we sleep in the same tent.
Okay, so you're sleeping in a separate tent, and you've just gone straight out as your pillow hits. And kind of hazily, you wake up as you're aware that tent flap has opened. There's a figure sitting up against one of the poles of the tent, kind of shrouded by shadows. And you kind of hazily look up, and you're not quite.
What do they look like? Like what size? Kind of. You say figure, like humanoid, or
Is it his
Yeah,
girlfriend?
humanoid, sitting down, purple skin, horns.
No! I thought it was Russian!
wakes up
Me
a little bit.
too!
He goes, Asco?
How fucking dare you? Says Ghost voice ringing out.
Oh, not again! Why are you here? And then he this time he sits up and he kind of looks at him with kind of hazy eyes, and then he picks up. I assume the tent is just on the ground. I
Yeah,
don't know
yeah.
if it's got cover. He picks up a rock and just throws it at him.
Go straight through.
Just goes straight through. He kind of just stares at him in silence.
Okay, fine. I'm not here.
Oh my god.
I'm so surprised. I'm guessing
You could try to arrest me again. He kind of puts his hands together.
The guy just like sits up into a cross-legged sit and just goes, "Oh, very, very funny as always." What are you here for then? Just to irritate me? Nothing new, I guess.
Oh, I wanted to send a message.
A message to me or to
Yes.
everybody?
I thought to all of you, but I tell you.
Oh, okay.
Because
What's your message?
good to be honest, you're the least likely to be able to stop this. You're strong, but no magic. You know.
Yes, I know. I'm not magical. You only remind me every single time.
Aku has what I want, and I will trade it for Rasha's life.
Aku has what you want. Like, can't you just go get it then? Like, he's
I
probably
told
asleep
Aku,
right now.
but I'm telling you.
Okay. So it's. I mean, I don't even know what is. Do I just tell him that? Like, I don't know what Aku has that you want.
Tell him, tell the others, tell them all. Tell them I was here too. I miss them. I don't, but I do.
Sure.
But I don't.
Okay then. I mean, you gonna do anything else? You're gonna
I was always
But,
curious. What are your
turn me
plans
into
when
a
you get
frog.
back? When Ascor pretends you doesn't exist anymore?
pretend who doesn't exist?
You're gonna go back to your old life. What are your plans when you get home, Zug?
It's like, I mean, he sleeps in his armor at the moment, and he just
Yeah.
looks sad, and he's like, for the context of like what he used to look like before
Yeah.
he's now here. He's now in this incredibly like over the top armor. It's got like Geb symbols all over it. His arms are about twice the size that they were, and he goes, I don't know, maybe I'll look for promotion or something.
Ah, yes. So, Ghost always seems to like smile. You see that like very long, almost alligator's like smile. The Ghost has eyes twinkle purple at a second. Ah, yes, I forgot. The last
forgot
gift,
what?
and he reaches out and goes to touch your armor.
He kind of like scoots back a little bit, like, what are you doing? Stop it.
He
Stop
stops and touches it. Another time.
No. Yes, another time, or not another time.
No.
No. I like this armor. Asha made it. Don't touch it.
I'm sure that the only person who have touched that is Rasha and you.
Pauses and looks at him and goes, well, no one else has touched it yet, so yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what I said. And no, so tell me, you get back to Imon, you were this hero, and then ask or pretend you don't exist.
I mean, you know, I think he's gonna have bigger problems personally. I think his dad wants to kill him.
Wait, really?
Well, I don't know. He sent assassins after him. It's very confusing, actually. So I don't think he would get rid of me that quickly.
Oh, is that who those guys are? I wondered why
they
you
were.
dropped to. Where is Nadan?
He died.
Who killed him?
Oh, well, you know, people die.
Yeah, but normally
He
they
looks a
get
bit
killed.
uncomfortable. Well, you know, he was killed by a lethal thing. He was hit by an arrow. Very far
An
away.
arrow.
An arrow, yeah,
Mm,
which straight through his face.
make a deception check.
Oh my god.
Deception.
Imagine he
I'm
just
glad we get
seemed
to
the Great Deceiver.
I'm so glad we get to have like Zokos reruns this week.
This is so good.
Oh no, I got wait, what's my deception? This is for some reason a +1, I think. I got a 9.
An arrow.
Mm,
Why is Hayden on a time limit?
on a time limit.
Said it was
I
a
don't know.
rush.
That kind of like thinks back to himself. A lot happens at once, and not everyone tells him everything, and he goes, time limit? Oh, you the Essex, the thing. I don't really know actually. I just know that it's.
Oh, suck. Okay,
I don't want your pity,
why not?
because you don't mean it. You never do.
Okay. Stands up. brushes off imaginary dust. You'll tell them.
Sure. Yeah, it's fine. I'll tell him that you want something that
And
Aku
I hope-
has for Rasha.
Yes, that.
You didn't even. What is it though? You just want what? And he kind of like points to the thing. He goes, you want what?
I want what Aku
Aku
wants.
has.
I want him to be gone of Lanharath.
Oh, I can tell him that.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, sure. I'll tell him that. That's
Tell
pretty
him that.
straightforward.
Tell him he just
Yeah.
needs to relinquish Lanharath, and you can all have Rasha back.
Okay. Yeah, sure. I can tell him that.
Except it's not just him, but that's fine. You don't need to know
Goes
that.
secretly the good guy.
It's,
Yeah,
not, it's not just him, but like metaphorically, give up Lanharath. You
Okay.
won't understand.
I mean,
And I hope that there are no strays arrows in the Barbed Fields.
Well, I'm sure there are, but you know, hopefully not that hit me. But before you go though, I'm looking forward to fighting you.
Mm.
It'll be fun.
You and me, we're never getting this close in person.
Oh, but we could.
No. Especially not with that thing, and he points like the unholy Avenger sticking slightly out of his satchel.
Oh,
Oh
oh,
my
that?
God.
I don't even use that. I use the other big axe. That one's much fun. I can use that one though if you prefer.
I hope you get down the tree, Zug. I can't wait to see what happens.
Down the tree. Oh, I'm sure I will.
Goodbye. And Zug kind of
cheers.
goes out and he kind of turns into dust.
As you guys go, see you tomorrow probably.
The rest of you. Presumably, obviously, there'll be some consequences out for the next day. However, Hayden, perception check again.
okay. With advantage or disadvantage or normal?
No advantage, just straight roll.
It's 16.
Again, you can't help but get the feeling that Aku left the tent again last night. Not on watch.
Do I remember Aku going for his pee break before we went to bed?
It's insane to me.
You don't remember, really. It's difficult. Aku keeps himself to himself, and maybe this is something he does. Like, he's a light sleeper like you. You've noticed that. But he does seem to leave, whereas you don't on occasion.
I'm gonna sit up in my sleeping bag a bit and kind of look around the tent and confirm he's definitely not there, and then I'm just gonna poke my head out just like a little flap of the tent and see if I can see him in the immediate vicinity.
Yeah. Aku, could you make a stealth roll for me?
Oh boy. Haven't looked. Oh, disadvantage. Yeah, I forgot about that. Wait,
you,
am
you,
I
won't-
gonna
you,
hit?
you won't be wearing your armor, so.
Okay.
Or yeah, off in the distance, you hear like a thud, and like you see the spear has been thrown. It has killed some small animal off in the distance. You see it kind of Aku spear land, Aku materializes over the spear, picks it up, and you see him kind of kneel down with the animal and begin to like almost like pray over it.
Does he look like he's in danger at all?
No.
Okay then, and Hayden kind of zips the tent closed and
Yeah, as you
goes
kind
back
of
to bed.
pretend to be asleep.
Guess he's
kind
catching
of-
breakfast.
Yeah, as you kind of pretend to be asleep and kind of come back in, Aku will, after some time, like rematerialize and just kind of fall back over and go to sleep.
You'd probably both see that Barnes doesn't seem to sleep, being one of the Walking Dead. And every night he assumes a sort of back up against something, maybe a rock or like, mini tree, wherever you're nearby. And he just sort of stares entirely motionless for a few hours into the fire. One night, I don't know, maybe this night, there is a crumpled letter in his hand and he looks particularly annoyed. And he's just sort of staring into it. So, I don't know which night that is. That's a night. But yeah. Anyone who's out and about in the evening.
I imagine Roman probably regularly will volunteer to take watch because he has an actual sense of like community responsibility, unlike Ghost did. If he would he see, I think he'd probably remember back to when Barnes was talking about Vespa and Chloris, and now having spent a couple of nights like sat together around the campfire, working stuff out. He might like be sort of coming back off for a watch, poke the fire. I see you have someone that you hate too. I can relate.
What? Oh. Yes, very much. A lot of hatred. So much hatred. Indescribable amounts of hatred, actually. Who do you hate?
Essex Bayless. He's a bastard.
What's wrong with Essex Taylor?
Oh, he's just a bastard, really, through and through.
Same situation here, I think.
Mm.
Just the worst.
Self-aggrandizing, duplicitous, and altogether just a bastard.
Duplicitous? A bit feeble, maybe.
Oh, definitely feeble.
Dour.
Can't even walk. Literally floats everywhere.
Right, you need somebody to get him out of bed in the morning. That sort of feeble. Probably has people extract him from his duvet.
Probably, yes, probably.
God, I hate him so much.
Yes.
I don't even remember why. Just that really, I just can't wait to spit on the grave.
From the brief sections that I've uncovered during my research to help Hayden, he seems like an incredibly hateable person, so I'm sure whatever your reasons are, they are completely valid.
So why do you hate Vespin? Or why are you after his body, or something about his skull?
Yes, well, he seems to be in some way responsible for this calamity, and that happened a century ago, or several centuries ago, a millennia ago even. And we would like to, I guess, desecrate the corpse in some way to stop more evil from happening.
Fantastic, is that like a pilgrimage you guys do? Sort of a desecrate Vespin's corpse for posterity and warding against evil?
You could say that. It is only happenstance that I am along for the ride, and indeed, actually, it is only happenstance that we are all on this journey in the first place, but as you said to me yesterday, make the best with what you have, or something. I'm sorry, I'm afraid I can't quite recall what you said to me.
Close enough. Close enough. If you want something that's a bit easier to remember, then just remember that stressed spelled backwards is desserts.
I am rather fond of sweets, though.
Me too. I think.
Does that explain something about me, about my psychological state?
Oh.
I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with liking sweets, Roman. And I don't think there's anything wrong with needing a bit of help either. Seems like you've been through quite a lot.
Roman, like, introspects that for a second, having only known this guy 3 nights, and he's, like, kind of reading him to filth, but it's the equivalent of going to work and someone being like, wow, you look tired. So
He has that energy, yeah.
Yeah. So he's, like, trying to kind of figure out how to, with his extremely low charisma, well, I suppose I appreciate your candle, Barnes.
Well, if we can leave it on anything, before I maybe stress you out a little more, sometimes the best thing and the most productive thing anyone can do is just to relax. So how about we both relax by this nice fire here in the wastelands of the fields or whatever on our way to pilgrimage to desecrate a corpse, and think about how lucky we are to be having such a peaceful, blessed night.
Yes, while my erstwhile possessed evil brother attempts to swallow our universe into a black hole of horror and misery.
Yeah, what's with that?
This is the
Family drama.
is this the same
Don't
night?
we all have it?
night that just
This is the
happened,
second
right?
night, yeah.
So yeah, it would be the night that Ghost
Same night that I
visited.
just got woken up. Yeah.
Yeah.
How loud is it outside the tent with you guys having a discussion?
Average
Average.
noise, probably.
All right. Well, you hear like a rustling and then like a clinking of armor as the half-orc is roused from his sleep and walks outside of his tent, kind of muttering to himself a bit. Oh, don't understand anything that's going on.
It's a bit early for you, isn't it?
Oh, I had a visitor.
Oh, lucky you.
The lady?
Not really. Oh, that would have been nice. No, your brother, once again.
Roman just immediately stands up. He's here?
No, you know, when he's not actually the magic apparition thing. He
Oh, the
does.
one trying to destroy space-time or whatever.
Yes.
That one.
Is he? Oh, well, yeah, he just turned up. I don't know.
How is he?
Seems alright,
What do you
I
mean,
guess.
how is he?
Not if bears asking.
So
He's
right, answers very matter-of-factly to Barnes. Yeah, I think he's okay. He looks the same as he did before.
Fantastic, I'm so glad to hear it.
I
Rest
should
be
say
polite.
so. He's absolutely living his best life at the moment, to the detriment of the rest of us and indeed the rest of the waking world.
Yeah, something like that.
Go get it, king, or whatever it is they say now.
Probably wouldn't say that about him. He's how would he put it? He's
A
rather
dickhead.
problematic.
Annoying.
Those things too.
Yeah. No, he
Understood.
just turned up and, I don't know, talk some shit about wanting Landharath or something. I'm not too sure. I was quite tired when he was speaking to me. I didn't catch everything he said.
Cool.
He wants Aku to give him Landharath and then he'll give Rasha back. I think that's what he said.
And where is Landharath?
I don't know. I assume Aku has him.
And is that someone that is that Aku's family, or
Look,
I
I'm
suppose
gonna
you
be
don't
honest.
know.
Ghost doesn't tell the truth very often, so I wouldn't take it as much.
When you say Aku has him, what exactly do you mean by that? Is he, I don't know, carrying him around in a bag or something?
And
Maybe in his pocket.
Because I am
and-
riding the same beast as him, so I'd quite like to know if I'm sharing with a turd.
yes, and I should say that while my brother is not known for his truth telling, in every great deception there is a nugget of truth to hide behind. So we should think carefully about the things that he requests and what the deeper meanings behind them could mean.
Exactly.
Perhaps tomorrow then, Zug.
No, so he said something about I'm not going to be able to get close to him, which was, well, I think he's again just talking shit as he always does.
That's pretty hurtful.
Then he
How
asked
did
me
that
what I was
make you
going to
feel?
do. Oh, it just made me feel like I want to punch him in the face, but you know,
Fair enough.
yeah. But then he asked me what I was going to do when I got back to Emon. I don't really know why he wanted to know that, but yeah, that's basically what he asked. And then something about Aku having what he wants, which he keeps saying anyway. Like I think that's the 4th or 5th time I've heard him say that. Aku seems to have something that he really wants. I don't know what that is though.
The ass, maybe? No, he doesn't say that.
Grandpa.
Didn't say that.
That's
That was
awesome.
that was Ghost astral projecting through me. Sorry. Sorry,
Where is
sorry.
Aku? Maybe we can ask him.
Sleep,
ask him.
I would presume, as
Oh.
it is approximately 2 in the morning.
Oh, I should probably be asleep as well. He keeps doing
Go
this.
back
He
to
keeps
bed.
turning up. He's not real. He's just invisible, and he just stands there and he taunts me.
What's weird
It's
about
really
that?
annoying. It's
Not quite
not
normal.
weird. It's just annoying.
Ghost, sorry. Roman looks at Zug with like a sympathetic or an empathetic and incredibly relatable expression on his face. Mm.
What did you used to do when he was a kid? How did you get him to shut up?
Well, at first, before I had studied magic, because I was around 80 years old when he was born, I believe. So I used to just tie him up and leave him in the back room and wait for Belfrin to find him. And after that, when the staff caught wind, I started learning a little magic to perform silence spells on him. You know, I'm
That's
starting
pretty
to think
funny.
maybe I was something of a bad influence on him when he was younger.
Oh, he did it to himself. I'm sure.
Saw a lot of people very tormented by the way their older siblings treated them, so it's a thing, it's a pattern.
Hmm. Well, I will try not to think too deeply about the ramifications of that.
Well, that's in the past. You can't blame yourself for anything that happened then.
Not sure that's how that works.
All you can blame yourself for is not looking to tomorrow with better thoughts and objectives.
I mean, never mind.
Do you go to wake up Aku? Talk about it. Okay.
Probably not, right? Probably, yeah.
As you all go to sleep, then we'll leave that evening there. The next day, we'll have whatever you guys want to talk to Aku about, the next check for the box. And other than that, I'm aware of the time. We'll take a break until 5 to 9, and we'll see what happens when you guys have some more progress with the box. If there's any more instances at night, and what happens when you arrive under the leaves of the Arbor Exemplar.
Ooh, exciting.
Wow.
You guys, bye.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
I'm definitely pressing the button right now. 1 second.
Bye.
It's loading.
Wow.
Okay, bye.
Bye. And then was like,
Hello.
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 We're back.
Wait, are we live?
Yeah.
We're just waiting.
Hello. Welcome back, everybody. Lauren is missing, and Sai is here.
Swallowed
Sai,
by space. She's swallowed by
Sai.
the great beyond.
Yep.
Lauren's room's so cool. Sai's back. Awesome. Hello. Welcome back. The Barbed Boyband have done their survival check for their entire journey and have done it well. However, that doesn't mean that on the way they aren't going to have some roleplay moments, which what we have been dealing with most of the session, be it Aku's night adventures, dealing with the box, getting to know Barnes, Ghost kind of coming back in to have a little chat with his fave. And the next morning after that chat, we will all come back in. You've all slept pretty well. That would have been the events of the night before. Are there anything you guys would like to talk to about the day afterwards as you travel?
Sorry, Lauren's little gremlin run was just so funny. Welcome back.
I
Lauren.
mean, what was time right now in this?
It can be any time the next day. If you want to do breakfast, fine. If you want to be traveling, fine. Up to you.
I mean, during breakfast, I'm pretty sure Zug at some point would have approached Aku to transfer the news across in a very awkward manner, which I can roleplay if you would like. I don't
Yes.
know if she'd have to
We
speak.
would like it.
We
You just
request
kinda
it.
Walk up. So if we're eating, like, I imagine if we're having breakfast, like, we do it before we leave. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
just trying to build the scene here. So he'd probably, like, awkwardly, slowly make his way around whatever, like, circle people are sitting in until he kind of, like, awkwardly sits next to Aku, like, still eating, right? So, Ghost was here last night. Well, he wasn't here. He appeared in my tent, and he wasn't real like last time. But he was here, and he said something about wanting Lanharath in exchange for Rasha. And just pauses and looks.
As
expectantly.
like Zug says that, Aku kind of suddenly just stops eating his food with his arms still up, holding his. Well, he probably doesn't use cutlery, so just holding his food in his hand.
His mouse. He's just cooked.
No, he cooks food. Okay, he's not
No,
that
he's got
much
cooked
of a
mouse. It's in
Tarzan.
his left hand.
He turns to Zug, and
So kind of like he's got his body language is kind of quite hunched. He's a little bit kind of like because he doesn't talk to Aku that often, and Aku looks quite intimidating. So he's kind of like, yeah. So I told him I'd fight him, but other than that, he just he lied, talks sort of shit. You know what he's like, and he kind of starts babbling a little bit.
Aww.
Ghost said, "What about Lanharath?"
Well, he pauses. He said that he wants what you have in exchange for Rasha, and then I asked him what you had because I didn't know, and he said Lanharath. Oh, he said Aku wants to be rid of Lanharath, right? And I said, yeah, of course. I think so. Second guesses himself and looks at you for approval.
Aku kind of like inhales pretty sharply, and then like you can just see him like slowly bring his hand to his forehead, like rubbing his face, bringing his hand down to his chin and sighs again, and just turns to Zug and says, "Fine."
Fine. What does fine mean?
Well, Ghost clearly doesn't just want Lanharath. I mean, I told
Looks like he goes, yeah, of course.
I told you all about Ghost talking about my people.
As if like the penny drops.
I imagine he is talking about Lanharath as one or the product of one of my people.
That must be it. Yeah. I remember Rasha saying something about you being a tree. I didn't understand.
Where are they? Are they in Aku's tent? Did you say he came?
Probably around having breakfast.
Okay, Aku
No,
just puts
that's
down his
outside.
plate and just walks away from Zug.
Okay. Well, that went well.
Oh my god.
So that morning, Hayden would be kind of keeping an eye on what Aku was doing. Did the animal that he killed last night, did that show up around the camp at all? Like, was it something
Yeah,
that
if you
he
go
was
over and you have
eating?
a look at it, you can see that it hasn't been eaten. And like you go over and you see that it's kind of being pulled onto the ground a little bit. There are kind of vines wrapped around it that seem to be like pulling it down into the ground.
So he just left it there where he stabbed it?
Yeah. kind of weird like sigils carved in the ground around it, and some like kind of trees and sticks bent into odd shapes.
Do I recognize any of the sigils?
Make a religion check.
15.
Like some of it's vaguely similar to some of the stuff Aku's wearing. A little bit, maybe. Some of the religious iconography you've seen him wear or use.
I mean, as someone who does spend a lot of time looking at Aku, I would probably recognize that.
Yeah.
Okay. Does the animal look like really fucked up in any other way, or is it just kind of like a clean kill and now the vines are bringing it to the earth?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. I'm gonna return to the camp and not say anything about that.
Okay.
I will, however, go sit next to Barnes and pull out my magical frying pan.
Oh, hello, Hayden. How can I help you?
Hey, have you had breakfast yet?
Oh, I don't eat. I'm dead.
Is that why you've got the things?
The things? What things?
Things
Wait, you're
around
dead?
Zog, I hate to break it to you, but I crawled out of the ground after 900 years of sleep.
Yeah, but
I'm
I thought
almost
because you
certainly
came back to
dead.
life again.
Well, sure, but if you've come back to life, it's not really life, it's unlife.
Mm.
Would living dead help you feel better about it? I suppose I'm not technically dead.
I don't feel bad about it. It's just more that I don't know. I don't understand.
I mean, I'm kind of not
Does that mean-
surprised after we literally brought 500 skeletons out the ground, not sewers.
You did what?
I mean,
You say we, as
What
though
did you do
was
that
a group
for?
consensus.
it was a lapse in
We were in a
judgment.
really sticky situation.
Where did you get them
Zog
from?
gets it.
Don't encourage the behavior, Zog.
Well, I'm not gonna do it again.
Well, they're your men. Where did you get them from?
They
Were they just lying around?
just in the ground, and
I
they just
suppose
kind
they
of
were-
came out.
Oh, I'm
They
lucky
would
I
most-
wasn't one of them, it sounds like.
Yes,
Well,
they were most likely your men, actually.
Well, that's what I was
My bad.
wondering was when did you wake up? Because was it around the time that maybe I did that, and maybe that's how you woke up?
No, I mean, I have... really, the most recent thing that I remember is crawling out of the ground and something about Vespin, and that's it. I don't remember lying there or anything.
Okay. So you're like dead? No, but you're...
Perhaps, Hayden, you were trying to ask what happened to your face while you were alive.
Mm.
But what is this about my face? Because I remember it being quite nice.
Well, it is nice, but you've also got like these like thingies around here.
Thingies. He reaches up to touch his face, and he looks kind of mildly surprised.
Right, as you touch the outlines, there's that like nagging feeling in the back of your head, and it currently sharpens, and there's like a pain, like almost fractures across your forehead, and you feel yourself, your consciousness being pulled in a direction slightly. And off in the distance, you hear the chinking of glasses and the slight sound of laughter. And it goes for a second, but you're left with like, this unerring feeling that there is something far, far to the west, hundreds of miles. You can almost put a number to almost 3,500 miles that way. That you need to go to. It's got something you want.
He blinks and removes his hands from his eyes. Well, that's new. And he kind of turns to face the west directly and stares at it a little while. Do you know, Hayden, I don't think I have an answer for you. Do you have a mirror or something? And he kind of scrabbles around for something shiny and peers at what exactly he has just touched on his face.
Yeah, grabbing a blade, or if the party have a mirror or some kind of reflective surface.
Ascot definitely
Yeah.
has a mirror. Come on, guys.
Yeah,
Ascot
we
at
have-
this
we
point
have a
actually.
mirror at the party.
Ascot at this point is kind of picking his own eyebrow. Staring. When I'm done. Kind of hands it over after when he's done, and you can see kind of the big scars around your eyes.
you know, it's funny. In some way, it's almost like I'm looking at a different person. I don't know how to explain it.
You suggested that Vespin Chloros was alive when you had passed. You thought him alive.
I'm pretty sure.
Is it possible that he defiled your body in some way?
What would he do that for?
No, he doesn't sound like a very nice bloke.
Sounds like a
Why?
Vespin thing to do, actually.
Barnes, do you remember 900 years ago or so?
Not at all.
When you were young.
That was... I think that was a bit more than 900 years ago, to be honest.
Okay, anyway, do you remember what your eye color used to be?
My eye color?
Yeah.
I mean, it was... Sure, it was... Wasn't it? Well, he looks back in the mirror and blinks at it.
No, don't look at that. And Hayden, like, puts his hand over the surface of the mirror so his memory can't be jogged by that. Do you remember what they used to be?
I don't at all. I mean, this, I guess, it must be. It's not like I just have different eyes or anything, but...
If you had to
Right.
guess, were they like
Stranger things have happened in this place.
blue, green?
Yeah, this place is very weird.
Well, I mean, I certainly think they were... Well, they weren't green, but they might have been green, I guess, but... No, they were probably hazel, right? I mean...
Okay, then maybe it's fine. I just thought, because, like, the scars are all the way around, and I thought maybe someone had, like, chopped out your old eyes and put new ones in.
Yeah, but why would they do that?
I don't know.
Maybe it was
I
eye
guess why he
surgery.
does anything he does.
Just taking a dead man's eyes. What's with that?
I don't know, maybe, like, to see
Why-
stuff better with, I don't know.
Why bother putting new ones in?
Yeah, that's really a strange thing.
If these aren't my eyes, then whose are they?
Well, that's what I was gonna... But if you think they were hazel, they look pretty hazel to me, I don't know.
Probably, they were probably... I mean, these are probably definitely my eyes. I'm surely they must be.
Do you mind? And Roman comes up to Barnes and kind of puts his hands up. Doesn't go to touch him, but just kind of pulls some magic in front of him.
This is very forward if you're Roman, not saying that I mind, but go on.
Roman is going to cast Detect Magic on Barnes.
Yeah. So a couple of the items Barnes was holding are clearly magical. There's a very faint echo, what once would have been magic, around a lot of the devices you've seen previously. The eyes, though, no magic.
Well, you may be relieved to know they appear to be regular eyes.
That's fantastic. I'm so glad to hear it. Although when I touched them, I felt this uncontrollable urge. I can't explain it. To go to a party, it's like there's a party somewhere far off I have to be at. Do you know what I mean?
We've only known each other for a few days. However, I must say that absolutely lines up with everything that you've displayed to us so far, so that does not surprise me to hear in the least.
Well, I guess I'm sort of pleased to know there's a place for me to go, at least. Once I've spat on Vespin's corpse or whatever. Thanks for pointing that out, Hayden. I don't know how long I would have been wandering around with these little scars here.
I mean, they don't look bad. I was just curious. Sorry.
No, I honestly appreciate it. It's sort of given me a place to go, knowing that they're here, I guess.
Cool.
Do you know what happened to Vespin, by any chance? How did he die?
How much... Sorry, how much did Roman learn when he was doing his research? And
If I remember, if you can look at my notes, you learned that Vespin Chloros died somewhere near Vasselheim in the battle there, possibly. That's at least what you learned via your notes. You learned that he was either his body was in some way transported back here, or potentially around here. That's how the story goes, at least. You don't know how he died. You don't know if it was in the assault or siege of Vasselheim by the Betrayal Gods, or if something else happened.
I explain that.
In Vasselheim. Right. Well, no, he was certainly alive when I died, so maybe we can blame all of this on him. Probably can. Surely can.
Let's go with that.
It only makes sense I hate him so much if he, I don't know, killed me or something. Seems likely, doesn't it? That he did that.
Quite a few people.
Yeah, yes, absolutely.
If it's any consolation, it probably wasn't something personal.
I wish that was a consolation.
Oh, never mind.
I appreciate the attempt, though. Anyway, enough about me. I think you've all got enough problems to be dwelling on. It's quite refreshing, actually. I'm quite enjoying it. Hanging out with people with real issues. It's very exciting.
What kind of people did you used to hang out with?
You know, I don't remember so clearly, but I remember it being very frustrating. I remember it all being very vapid, very shallow. Problems weren't really problems, and if any of my advice comes across as that exactly, well, it is. It all sounds pretty bullshit to me in the context of people nearly dying every day and brothers trying to destroy the world. I don't get the sense that that was really an issue anyone had to encounter back then. I remember talking a lot about, I don't know, people's berries being the wrong colour or not being able to get the roses quite the right shape, or Archmage XY published something a little disparaging about them in the weekly column.
So you were like a noble or something?
No, I was a motivator. For nobles, I guess. But not just them, but I don't know, I just have flashes of really boring things, so you forgive me if I sound overly excited by all of your misery. I sort of am quite excited by it.
You know, Barnes, what you've just said there might actually be the most motivating thing that you have shared with us yet, knowing that even in the great age of the arcane, where magic ruled above all and everybody was somewhat equal and technology was incredible and nobody went hungry, that they all had kind of bullshit problems and everyone kind of sucked, so...
They were
Like-
fucking miserable, I think, from what I know. I found some notes, honestly. He, like, pulls out a few things. It seems like a book, and he points out to some things on a page that seem to be, like, session notes, maybe, and it is all complete bullshit that he's written down. And he's even drawn little, like, grumpy faces next to it in his notes, as though it's, like, just the tone you get from his own notes. It seems to be he was extremely done with whatever discussion he was having at the time.
Sorry, when you said session notes, I was like, oh, he used to play D&D in his previous life.
He's just done with his group, fed up. DM knows nothing. Like, so,
I know, it's
Travelling-
not much, but yeah.
traveling on throughout this day. If there's anything you guys like to talk to me about, however, in the evening, one thing that will happen is the box for the third night. If you guys could try again with the advantage intellect rolls, straight intellect, plus the d10 from Barnes.
Hayden sat next to Robin now, no longer keeping distance. He's gone back to trusting him, and he's chewing on a Werther's original and just kind of sat there with his arms crossed, hunched over, looking at what Roman's about to do to the box. He's very engaged. And I give you advantage.
There is a meme after this that I'm going to share that describes what this is exactly.
Barnes, are you sitting with us?
Yeah, he's probably sat on a log fairly close, also chewing a Werther's original if there are any left or have been distributed.
If he asked for one, Roman would give him one. Is he humming a little
Definitely.
tune or playing a little song?
He has his dulcimer out and he's occasionally whacking the strings and playing a slightly haunting melody, maybe.
Does that- Does that give us
A d10.
a D10?
Yeah.
A D10.
We've already rolled two 25s.
That's a 31.
Jesus Christ. Okay, Roman,
Love a
the
smart
chat's
grandpa.
Wanna be.
you feel that you're getting a bit closer, and the closer he comes, the more this focuses your mind, and you don't know if it's being out here with very little distractions other than the weirdly focusing music, whether it's Hayden's not understanding but appreciative and or inspired gaze, or if it's just the raw hatred of Essex Thalis that is allowing your brain to work this quickly, your mind to make these calculations as the part of the box that now as you kind of examine it, it is shifting. As you shift one, others move and part and change. Some of them change size even as you do, and normally this would be frustrating to work with, but in this moment you relish this challenge. And again, hours you spend on this, no matter how much you think you've nearly got it, just seems to escape you until, again, the fires are running low. It is by no means easy. But you feel that for some reason you stop and you think, no, nothing's happened. There's been no click. There's been no change. But something tells you, based on the way the box kind of looks, you hold it up to the stars, the light refracts off it. It feels right. There's no satisfying click, there's no change, but at this moment, I think you might have solved the fourth fight.
How many sides were already done, or was it
One.
done a different one? So
This is the third side you solved personally. You've solved 3 in a row.
out of 9.
Not out of 9. So there are 4 out of 9 done now.
Take that, you fucking bastard.
An unsolvable puzzle.
He
Was-
mutters to himself.
So has something happened? It didn't make a noise.
Yes. What's happened is, Essex Thalis is not getting a wink of sleep tonight.
Oh.
Lucky him.
No, I didn't mean like that. I meant because he will be deeply uncomfortable by the existential dread that my success has wafted over back to Rasona and, crawled into his ear, and it will disquiet him for the evening.
Oh,
All right.
I see.
How graphic. Good job.
Thank you.
Nice. So try it again tomorrow?
Absolutely.
Cool.
So-
I'm gonna go to my tent then. Good night, you guys.
Good night,
I
Hayden.
should-
Sleep well.
You
Sleep
too.
well.
As you do so, Hayden, crawling in, a little separated from Aku, rolling over, your mind racing, pondering what could be in this box, thinking of the time throughout, your mind escapes and leaves you, and you know you've been having dreams and nightmares the past couple of days. And you're a bit reticent to go to sleep because of that. You lay awake for a little bit thinking, and you again wonder if Aku's going to leave, and being here, being in Aku's presence, that same presence that you felt save you from various effects, has kept you less alone than you would have been on previous nights when the wand kept you away from the group. But could you make a charisma saving throw for me?
Excuse me? Does Aku's
And
bonus
And
give
Aku
me
is
Christmas?
definitely close enough to give you the bonus.
What the fuck makes you make charisma saving throws?
Jamie. Wait, so
Oh.
what's Aku's bonus then? Plus
+5.
5 on charisma.
Yeah.
And that would be a 14 in total then.
Feeling you might do well, you drift off. Slowly, surely, fractured sleeping. And you think you've woken up. You think if it's another spell and you've woken up and you roll over Aku's there and Aku's there and you roll back over and you just happen to grant a glimpse of your bag of holding and the handle of the wand is sticking out of it.
What? Excuse me? Am I dreaming? Am I awake?
You look around. Aku's there, the tent's there, the night out sky, sounds. You think you're awake.
Is the wand normally poking out of my bag, or is this a new
No.
development?
It's new. Normally something would need to be taken out of the bag.
Can I like take my dagger that I sleep with?
Yep.
And I'm gonna try to use just the tip of the dagger to like poke the wand back into the bag. You go back in there. You're not coming out.
As you try to move the wand, it doesn't budge.
Oh fuck. No, no. Can I shake Aku awake?
You shake Aku, you put your hands. Aku's cold.
No!
And as you kind of push and pull, Aku's eyes like loll open, and you see no life behind them.
Oh no, what do I do? Oh shit, I don't want to touch the wand. Can I leave the tent?
Yep. You go to the tent. Fires are burning low. It's been a while. You see Roman meditating off in the distance. You see the other tents laying out.
I'm gonna shout, Roman!
No response.
Roman!
Your it echoes through the night. The air is incredibly still, and you feel you hear nothing back. Roman doesn't stir.
Oh god. Zug? Ascor? Barnes? Is
Quiet
anyone
and
here?
still.
Can I cast Mage Hand? Does Mage Hand work?
Yeah.
Can I try to use Mage Hand to shove the wand back into the bag?
Yeah, as the one. So you've come outside the tent, right?
Yeah.
As you go back into the tent, the wand is hovering right there in front of your face.
No!
Gull, Vespin Chloras right in front of your face, like mouth open, a slight green flame escaping from it.
I'm probably gonna scream and try to run away from that.
Yeah. Are you just running? There's like no actually.
Yeah, literally just turn about face and fucking bolt in the opposite direction.
And you run and you don't look back, and there is sand underneath your feet that pounds. You feel tired. You don't know how long you've run for. The sky above, you see the stars like begin to change as you run a huge distance. You stop to breathe. You catch your breath. You look around. There's nothing around you. You're standing in the middle of the Barbed Fields alone.
It's not there anymore?
You turn around. You can't see anything behind you.
Oh fuck. Do I know where the rest of the group is?
No.
Do I know the direction that I came from?
Nope.
Oh no, what have I done?
At this point, the sand underneath you gives way.
What?
And you just start falling.
Oh fuck.
Falling. And as far as you know, at this point you jolt right upright, sitting up, back in your tent, back with Aku. Nothing.
Is Aku alive now?
Aku, as you kind of like reach over, like I don't know how Aku would react to being woken up in the middle of the night, but
I'm
touching
gonna
him.
shake his shoulder, like
Yeah.
Is he alive?
Just like startles, like blurry-eyed. I mean, he's a light sleeper, but he was having probably a decent-ish sleep there. Just sort of like groggily looks over to Hayden. Huh, what's going on?
I thought you were sorry. I just dreamt that you were dead. You're not dead. That's cool. I'm awake, right? You're awake. This is real, right?
Aku just eyes Hayden. He goes, Did you get into my pouch?
No,
Implying
no,
that he
I
thinks he's on drugs.
no, I haven't. Not since the last time. Hold on one second, and Hayden's gonna reach for the bag of holding. Don't freak out, okay? I'm just gonna check it's still there, and he's gonna reach in and see if the Wand of Orcus is still in his bag.
Okay. Still there as you kind of reach in, touch it. You feel like the cold metal of like part of the joinings, and also the weird bone the weird bone that forms the spine of this thing. You feel it, and touch it, and
Ugh.
the vague laughter in the back of your head.
Okay,
As
and
you kind of rip away from it, there's nothing.
he pulls his hand out and quickly moves the flaps back over on the bag and seals it shut, and he's like, that was everything's fine. I'm sorry for waking you up. I am gonna go back to sleep and not bother you anymore.
Are you okay, Hayden?
Yeah. I guess. Sorry, I think it was just a dream. I'm fine.
Well, you can talk to me if something is bothering you.
It's just I dreamt that the wand started getting out of the bag again, and you were cold and not moving and kind of looking a little bit like Nadan in the eyes, not the fringe, and then I left the tent and I was shouting and no one else was responding, and Roman was there but he didn't hear me and no one else was there, and I just tried to get back in the tent, and then the wand was like floating in front of me and like looking at me in the face, and I was like, hell no. And so I like turned and like ran, and I lost the group, and then like the desert like opened up like a sandworm or something, and I just like fell down, and I woke up. So it's just a dream. It's totally fine.
Well, now I understand how unpleasant dreams can be, so I do understand, but I'm sure it was just your mind.
Yeah.
Overwhelmed with the responsibility that you have holding on to the cucumber. I wouldn't worry too much about it, Hayden. It was just a dream.
Yeah, you're right. You don't have anything that like makes you not dream, right?
I have never needed something to make me not dream, so unfortunately I don't. I'm sorry, Hayden.
Yeah, I forgot you didn't really dream before.
Yes,
recently.
That was my first time dreaming not too long ago, so.
Right, that makes sense. Cool. That's great. I'm just gonna go for maybe just a quick walk and try to clear my head, I think.
Does Hayden look like he wants to be alone right now? I mean, I imagine that Aku's insight isn't fantastic, and it comes to like trying to read people's feelings, but
this is an "it's fine" moment.
Yeah, oh yeah, oh my god, the "it's fine" moment. That was a good one. I would say it's someone who's not used to having people show concern, so he's used to just kind of dealing with stuff on his own. So it's not like he's like, get away from me, but it's like he's not really expecting you to be like, I'll come with you on a walk kind of thing or whatever. So yeah.
Okay, well, maybe Aku gets like about 5% of that because he's, emotionally constipated and thinks he looks fine and then goes back to sleep.
Cool. Good night, Aku. Sorry for waking you up. And Hayden will unzip the tent. Check. Is actually the rest of the party there and people are around now for real?
You reach out, and what you didn't hear before was kind of the sounds of the party sleeping. You hear the Zug and Asgore snoring.
Oh my
You
God.
see Barnes kind of walking around, who you didn't see before, not sleeping either. And you see, like even in completely still meditative state, there are kind of like movements or like swirling around Roman that you didn't notice before. The stillness of the night is gone. The eeriness is gone. If this is a dream, it's a very more realistic one.
I've never been more comforted by the sounds of Zug and Asgore snoring than I have in this very moment.
As Hayden leaves the tent, Aku's eyes kind of open again, and he sort of like sits up and like, is it really, really dark outside? Like,
Yeah, it's pretty dark.
I guess he's just gonna kind of like listen to see if Hayden's footsteps like walk, far away enough from camp that if he did, Aku would probably, stealthily follow after him if it sounded like he was going far away from the camp.
How far would he go?
Probably not too far away. He still perceives a lot of safety in the party kind of being nearby, so he probably just gets out and stretches his legs a bit and gets some fresh air and maybe goes and fetches like a water canteen and kind of refreshes himself and
Okay.
shakes off the bad vibes before eventually returning to the tent later.
Okay, to sleep.
Yeah.
Wonderful. The rest of you. Night passes. Those of you on watch don't see anything too much. Beginning of your 4th day of travel. If there's nothing you guys would like to speak about, we can do the 4th check for the box as you guys camp in the evening. Unless there was anything, please. No, sorry. I thought you came forward to say something. Didn't want to speed ahead of.
No.
4th check for the box. Advantage are intellect check. Sorry, intelligence check plus D10. You're rolling super well this evening. Like
I don't.
Yeah.
That's not.
27.
Like,
Still 27.
it's not as good as it could be, though. But yeah, I will
It's a
accept the 27.
16.
Rita's here to
True.
give you advantage.
Thank you, Rita.
So, keeping the side of the box that you think is finished done, this time, as you approach it, the box isn't ominous, but you get the sense that as you're turning stuff, electricity starts like almost like crackling. You feel the warmth under your hands, and a misstep isn't just going to result in a failure. A misstep now, you feel the hum through this
It's
as
a
you get towards
bomb.
the end, that this device, this arcane power will begin to resist if you're failing. And with that in mind, you take more time and you're more careful, and maybe you shift a little bit away from the awe-inspired look of Hayden, the understanding, and you kind of listen to Barnes, you more closely, and it is not a night where you feel you have failed, because you feel there would have been something that. However, it's also not a night where you have solved one of the sides. You've made progress, and should you try again, you feel you've got a different start, and some possibilities have been closed off to you, but it is certainly not you don't feel as though you're 5 out of 9 now, as you finish that. There's no satisfying click, there's no sense it's done, there's no shrinking or enlarging of this, and you're kind of no closer to the runes flaring up and it opening itself entirely.
This is fine. I mean, he is old, so he's fairly patient.
Cool. This time, however, the rest of you, as you're camping, you see that you are within a day of this enormous tree kind of pulling out of the ground, and the turtle was huge, and that's maybe warped your perception, because in reality terms, this is the largest tree that any of you have ever seen. It is multiple buildings across. It towers almost a couple of 1,000 feet upwards. Its large like branches spray out even further, and you see kind of the leaves now. Even though it's kind of middle of winter for most of you, the tree is fully evergreen, leaves like sprouting off, and you remember kind of seeing the rock flying to and from here in your previous journey, and you wonder, perhaps looking up, if this is a bastion of the Wild Mother, what other creatures dwell within, above, below this ancient, humongous tree. Barnes, there is no recollection of this. This did not exist while you were alive.
Now that's new. It's pretty big.
That is a large tree.
Huh.
Does Roman know the story of this tree and like how it got there and stuff? I assume he will.
Absolutely. So the Arbor Exemplar, which I think you found out before, was planted in wake of the kind of, it's part of the sealing of the Divine Gate. It was planted by the Wild Mother very much to begin the regrowth of this area. Something has clearly gone wrong. It's still a wasteland, or it's over a much longer time scale. The idea was that in planting this tree, in the sealing of the Divine Gate, in the very kind of nature and size of this, it doesn't just exist and grow, it binds a lot of the magic that keeps this new relation of Roshana, the new magic, the new order together. Like, there is more to this tree than simply a tree. It symbolizes and helps. You imagine that damaging this tree would probably somehow damage the fundamental rules that govern this universe, is what you've probably read in your books. This tree is sacred to a great many things, to a great many peoples, even though it's incredibly difficult to get to, and is protected as such.
Roman would probably convey the general feeling of that to everybody in the party.
But no big deal then.
No big deal.
Well, we don't plan on killing the tree, do we?
Absolutely not. And I would consider it our primary goal to protect it from my brother ahead of anything else. I understand we have issues with the, he looks at Barnes, the cucumber. However, any large amount of damage sustained to this tree could undo the fabric of our reality as we know it. So, no pressure.
What is it with you guys and cucumbers and summoning skeletons from the ground and brothers trying to destroy the fabric of the world through trees? It's mad.
Many things
The world
have
is
changed.
strange.
And yet you yourself lived through the great age of Arcanum, and you find this strange.
Apparently I lived through it, though all I've got are session notes with miserable old men.
I see.
Mm.
Well, hopefully you can remember some of what you're living through now. Unliving through now.
Yeah, let's not use living too liberally.
Going through sleeping this close, many of you feel, you haven't felt hopeless or changed throughout this journey, but the area surrounding you is desolate and desperate, and whatever survives out here survives in opposition to its hardships rather than enhanced by them. But this tree seemingly represents a level of hope and regrowth that a place like Roshana should represent. Barnes, while the others are sleeping, you're kind of sitting and you're mulling and you're thinking about that tugging feeling, that ever-present feeling that you should be somewhere else, or something is pulling you in a direction. And you close your eyes and you don't sleep, but you feel your mind pulled, and you try to remember where you were. Strange, that ever-present tinkling of glasses, the laughter just gets louder, and there's almost, you can almost see it through whatever. There's a vague red haze across your eyes. It isn't there when you go to open them. And there's a voice cascading through these halls. It doesn't really mesh with one you've heard, but I haven't heard it since you were alive, but it meshes somewhere back, deep down. And you see it's coming from a figure kind of you see him on a large throne with wings outstretched. Like large leathery red rings outstretched, and this red figure with golden amber eyes and horns trending out. And you can't quite see him. He's covered in shadows, and he's holding a goblet and drinking from it and talking to something next to him. But my suggestion is simply trap him inside his own mind. The mind is its own place, and itself can make a heaven of hell and a hell of heaven. No watch, I think. And it kind of turns to you for a second. Do I know you?
Do I feel free to respond?
Yeah.
Well, I think, sir, a better question is, do I know you?
Puts the goblet down, and you see him steeple his hands. They're going to put his thing on it, but it's again covered in shadow. Just the eyes are very ominous. So very prominent. The golden orbs kind of saying there. You're missing something.
I'd hate to be facetious here, but I'm actually missing quite a lot. I feel as though I have an invitation to some kind of party, I might assume, given the decor. This would be it?
Perhaps. He kind of takes the clasp and takes a drink. Come back when you've sorted yourself out. And you start and that red haze drops, and you're back in the Barbed Fields.
Blinks and stares at the fire and looks around. Is anybody about?
Roman will be meditating on watch. Everyone else will be intense.
He probably turns to his case of instruments and reaches his hand in, and rather than a dulcimer, pulls out a viola, and just it feels appropriate to him to play a tune that he barely remembers the sheet music for, but feels muscularly ingrained, and he just knocks out some little viola trills into the night quietly by the fireplace.
Your final day of travel, you will begin to approach, as you wake up, you leave and begin to approach this humongous tree up in front of you. Hey, Bucky. As you approach it, it towers down, and you kind of reach its roots, and you can see that the grass around it, the verdant expanse of green, almost begins to shift and retract. You can see it off in the distance, as during the day it seems to expand outwards, and as you're approaching it in the dying arse, it's retracting. The grass almost like going under the ground and retreating back to the tree towards safety. As you approach, you get about a couple of 100 feet away from the tree, and looking up and realizing the enormity of it and what you're going to do, and you guys don't have this is your destination. What are you doing now?
Sorry, just
We
quickly.
can rewind if you want.
Well, just in the travel. So Barnes has been riding with Aku the whole time, right?
Yeah.
So probably at some point, I imagine they ride in fairly sullen silence, right? Like there's not much conversation to be had with Aku.
Maybe.
But at some point he probably leans forward and says to Aku from behind him, "So what's this about your friend that's missing? He said something about Arasha." Although I don't know if Sai's here, so maybe it's not the moment.
Sai said AFK 10 minutes
Oh.
ago?
Okay, fair enough.
Never mind. It's okay.
That's we should see if Sai comes back. However,
I just dropped my ice pack on my cat. I'm sorry.
oh no, how is Kale?
He looks so betrayed.
Did he
It's
survive?
cold and nasty.
He's
Is
fine.
it also wet?
Yes,
It's
a
the
bit
ultimate betrayal.
wet. It's a bit wet, but he's okay. He's in his bed.
And it's fine as you're kind of saying that, like Constant and Air come up behind you. Well, we're here. What's your plan?
Could I do something practically unheard of for us as a party, but more importantly, unheard of for me as a player? And could I make some kind of intelligence check to make some kind of smart person plan?
Yeah, go for it.
Because I, as a player, don't know what the fuck I would do. Well, I do, but I don't think it would end well. But I would
Make
like
an
to
intelligence
use.
check. Yeah.
Thank you, thank you. Can I? I'm just like looking. Is there any skill that would like be appropriate? I guess there's not. I guess it's
Intelligence
just
is
brain
yeah.
power. Yeah. Cool.
Hayden will discuss
Oh.
the plan with you to see if he can help poke any holes in it that maybe if there was a mistake or something, so maybe he could give you advantage.
Fine.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Okay. Well,
See if you roll higher than an 8.
22, baby.
Okay, your reason, you're like, apparently what you've learnt is that Vespin Chlorass's body forms the central structure of this, and you look at this tree, and this tree's roots probably expand, if not for a long time, for miles outwards. You know that root networks are obviously they have a starting point, they kind of go branch off. So either somewhere nearby there must be some kind of entrance, or you're all going to have to grab shovels. And the concept of grabbing shovels for a tree like this does not particularly fill you with much joy. There is presumably an entrance either nearby near the trunk or along one of the root stems that go out from this tree that you imagine that Ghost or whoever else has been this kind of has gone along before. Could all of you make perception checks?
Ooh.
Is it daytime?
It's twilight.
Does that mean I get
In the evening.
disadvantage or
No.
Okay, cool.
I rolled a dirty 20.
Dirty 20.
I also rolled a dirty 20.
Dabbing in 2021.
I rolled
15.
I rolled a natural one.
My roll 20 is not rolling, guys. Dice roller.
That means Geb is about to interfere with your rolls.
Yeah.
Gab seeks vengeance.
Galaxy
It is
Vengeance,
so.
yeah. Wizard of the Coast. Dice roller.
I rolled a 9. Yeah, I rolled a
Yeah.
9.
Cool. Did you want to do the thing, Barnes?
Oh, yeah. Aku, while we were traveling, on the assumption that we'd probably been sat in pretty sullen silence for most of the time, Barnes would have leant forward and into Aku's ear said, "So what's this about your friend that's missing? Your Rasha, you mentioned him pretty early on, but you don't talk about him much. What happened, if you don't mind me asking?"
Aku sort of jumps a little bit at Barnes being in such kind of close quarters, and he kind of looks at Barnes like with a conflicted look on his face, and he says, "Well, Russia, Val, was a member of our team, and just before you came out of the ground, he was taken from us."
All right. I think Hayden referred to him as your ticket home. I take it's an inconvenience that he's not here.
Aku scoffs pretty bitterly and says, "Russia was, yes, our ticket home, but he was much more than that as well. We're quite dependent on him for a number of reasons. And, well, above everything, he's a close friend of mine. I'd prefer if you didn't keep asking so many questions. Our goal is to get him back."
Oh, no, sorry. I just wanted to understand the situation better. It's nice. I mean, if I can at least alleviate any worries, I think I can get us back to Gordranas. Oh, no, sorry. Rosanna pretty easily if we have to, so don't worry about that, but...
That's the least of my worries, Aku snaps, and he sort of turns away.
Well, good to talk about these things, you know. Better than keeping it all in. Seems to be bothering you quite a lot. But I'm sure we'll get him back, no problems, so maybe we won't need to.
When Barnes says it seems to bother you, he kind of sees Aku's shoulders, like, hunch up a bit. Like, he doesn't really like the idea that Barnes can kind of tell when he's bothered, but he doesn't say anything further.
Barnes goes to say something and thinks better of it and kind of quietly settles back onto the what are they riding? Are they riding a unicorn? Antelope?
No, it's like, so
A big moose?
as another description, Aku's steed is a very large antelope-looking creature. It's sort of maybe almost larger than a large horse, but it has kind of 4 very large horns, kind of 2 straight and 2 slightly curved, like on top of its head, with a sort of long muzzle and I guess quite a dark color, if kind of an ethereal, shimmering steed can look dark.
A quadicorn.
Quadicorn?
It's not a unicorn, guys.
It's a
quadicorn.
4-horned unicorn.
No, it's
A
an antelope.
quadicorn. A dark 4-horned unicorn. Alright, yeah, he settles back onto that with a kind of fairly satisfied smile. And resumes humming a little tune.
Okay, so getting back to the tree. With your perception checks, I rolled a natural 1. So, falling, you all notice a crack in the branch as something falls out of the lowest rung, which is still quite high up of these, and you see a humanoid figure wearing quite tatty clothes clattering to the ground with various kind of paints and brushes and like long bits of canvas. Kind of, you hear landing on the ground in a splat as this creature lands on the floor, probably about 70-80 feet away from you. Kind of hear a ow, ow, as it kind of stumbles to its feet.
I got a natural 1, so I assume that I don't know this isn't
Yeah.
Ghost.
Oh god.
Yeah,
Anybody
this
a
isn't
doctor
Ghost.
here?
It kind of like the creature kind of stands up, looks at you, noticing it. Now that it's closer, you can see that it's quite short. Looks to be a kind of a female halfling. Again, the clothes very, very particularly looking like quite ragged cloths, some made of like branches and leaves sewn together. The bag, however, looks quite like it's one of its prized possessions. Seems to be quite fine. Various kind of scrolls of paper seem to be stuck in it, and he's grabbing those together and looks up at you and looks quite panicked and looks back at the bag and kind of holds it close and looks at you and very unsure from this distance.
Hi. Hayden waves.
Hi.
Hello there.
All right over there.
What have you seen? Who's there?
Fine.
A small thing.
It's a person.
Is it my
Yeah, you could call it that.
my brother? And Roman
It's not your brother,
starts casting a spell.
No, it's not your brother. Stop.
I'm sorry. I can't quite make it out.
It's kind of very uncertain, like grabbing its thing. It kind of gets a little bit closer, and you can see kind of like matted, like long hair that clearly has not been cut or washed in a really long time, like very dirty skin. Quite a nicely made carved like wooden staff hangs on its back with kind of various trinkets and things kind of popping down. Those of you with any religious training whatsoever will reckon them as various like iconography of the Wild Mother. As it kind of like moves a little closer.
You fell from the tree. This is a really high tree. Are you?
Thank you. Like looking at the various bruises and cuts.
Are you okay?
Fine. What are you all doing here?
Oh, that's a funny question, that is one.
Pilgrimage.
We're looking for someone.
We're on a
Kinda.
pilgrimage.
To the tree?
Yeah, sort of.
Okay, well then I need to... Well, I suppose I should welcome you. My name is... Leafy Sandbark.
That doesn't seem right.
No, it doesn't. I'm sorry. 2 seconds. She kind of takes out a book and rifles through it.
Do you not?
2 seconds.
Don't you know your own name?
No, I can't remember.
Oh, even I remembered my own name.
Is
Jeez,
this the
that's
DM who
bad.
can't remember the character?
No.
How
Zen.
did you? Perhaps you hit your head very hard. You may need to lie down.
No, here it is. I found it. It's on page 1. Charmaine Eglantine. And I am the guardian of this tree.
Are you now? What are you guarding it from?
That's a good
Awfully
question.
small person to guard an awfully large tree.
Well, that's very assumptive of you, Roman.
And it goes down a little bit. I'm guarding from those who would do it harm. Is that you? Would you do it harm?
No.
Quite the contrary, actually. We've come to prevent harm.
Good. Then not you. Kind of goes over another page. Pulls over again.
May I ask?
Yes.
Have you seen a man come here recently? Oh wait, no, he would be more like that sort of expression.
Let me check. And like you'll see that she pulls out various scrolls and kind of lays them out. And you see these are all paintings, quite nice paintings of people next to the tree. And after pulling out a couple, she does reveal one of Ghosts.
When did you see this man?
That one.
Kind of looks down at the date. I think. What's the date today? And you see she kind of pulls out the book again and looks through it. About 3 weeks ago, I think.
3 weeks.
Do you know what he did?
And he has not
Why
been
was
back
here?
since.
No, I mean he kind of like turns it over and you see notes and you see like she's kind of reading. He appeared very quickly, touched the tree, and then left.
Oh,
D-
shit.
DM, quick question.
Yes.
How long ago was it that Ghost did his ritual and ascended?
About just over 3 weeks ago.
Oh, okay. So this is within the period that he was not with us.
Yeah,
that
yeah,
makes
yeah.
sense. Okay, cool.
And he has not been back since.
I haven't seen him, no. Now, if you don't all mind, you seem lovely. However, on page 2 here, it says that I need to draw everybody who visits the tree. So, if you'd all stay for a second.
That kind of like poses a little bit, like hands on his
Yes, like
hips
that.
and
Wonderful.
mouth.
Yes, good. Thank you.
Hayden
Oh, this
kind of
is
like
fun.
scratches his head and like casually casts disguise self, and then when he looks up, his features are quite different looking.
Barnes poses as though he's done it a million times before. He has a very eased practice sort of celebrity on a poster pose.
And kind of like she begins to kind of paint and talk to you and goes, so a pilgrimage, you say? I suppose it's complete. Does it meet your expectations?
With
Hayden, could you make a wisdom saving throw for me?
Oh no.
Well, we do have something that we are actually looking for here. Perhaps either buried in this area or protected by the tree in some way.
Am I next to Aku? Does that give me a wisdom save bonus?
I would say for this purpose, no.
Okay, I rolled a 19.
Okay, could you minus 3d4 from that for me, please?
Yo, what?
So 12?
Well, okay. Everyone else mute for a second.
Oh.
I think.
Okay. Yeah, Lauren, it's fine. You turn around as this. I was talking to you, and you come face to face with sticking out of the ground 3 scaled heads, all looking at you and all singing under their tones.
Oh.
Physically, these have pallid, nearly white skin, long necks poking out, and it kind of you snap there a second. You're like, Jesus, this looks like a hydra. Like I've seen these in drawings, but each head they've never been this color before. They're a bit uncannily, rather than being serpentine, humanoid, kind of more round than what you'd expect. And the savage teeth kind of like singing out, and rather than eyes, just blackened pits that almost look like they've been scratched out. And as you kind of turn to tell the party about this, you just completely forget its existence.
Oh. Okay. Everyone, you can come back.
Hey, it's me.
Hello.
Welcome back.
Guess who's back in black?
There's a message side, but it's kind of she's kind of looking into. Thank you for posing. It's wonderful. You're looking to protect this, you said, or looking for something. What's wrong with it? I am the guardian here.
Well, I fear that purple man that you saw may be planning something rather mean-spirited. And we should
so?
like to prevent that.
Mean-spirited. Well, if I won't stop it, then the guardian will.
The Guardian.
So- Are you not the
Oh,
guardian?
you were the guardian, yes.
She kind of pauses for a second and just looks into the distance. No, yes, I am, but I think I am. It's what is written here. Everything in this book is true. So I am the guardian. Yes, I will stop him.
Did you write this book?
I think so.
Can I read the book?
Yep. So as you kind of go over, she kind of holds it close to her chest, like, this is my recollection of everything. You may not touch it.
Can I read it, but you hold it?
Make a persuasion check.
I promise I won't touch it. Persuasion. Oh, I'm not good at those. A 7.
Kind of holds it like, nope, I am sorry, it's far too dangerous, just, I don't want anyone to touch it. I can tell you what's in it.
That's fine. That's fine.
You know, this is absolutely lovely. I'd be quite interested to know, is there a burial site or anything around here? We're looking for something of a body.
A tomb. Maybe?
Right.
Pile of bones.
She's
Maybe
kind
a
of first
patch of grass that doesn't grow.
The access to the tomb is forbidden.
So there is a tomb.
And there is access.
Why is it forbidden?
I've just written here danger.
Oh,
What?
we're very strong. We're fine. You don't have to worry about us danger-wise.
I was going to say, what if I were to tell you we're experts in navigating danger, and really it poses no threat to us whatsoever?
I don't know if that's danger to you or danger from visitors.
Well, it's certainly danger to us. I can't imagine any other interpretation, can you?
I can imagine one extremely toothy interpretation of that.
You can make a separate persuasion check.
Oh, well, I guess it would be the
But-
opposite, because this would probably be me confirming her suspicions that indeed we could
Yeah.
provide danger.
It's a natural 20 for a total of 33.
Okay.
Ooh.
So he goes. Maybe. Yeah. I mean,
I mean, just look at us. We got it covered.
maybe if you think you can have. He looks a bit helpless going through the book. Not really a manual for this.
There's nothing I can't handle, I can assure you of that.
Okay, you look very strong.
We are.
What did you say? Sorry, Doc.
I said we are.
Smart, too.
Yes, I'm sure. Okay, so. Well, it doesn't matter anyway. It's not going to open until the morning.
Well, we can wait. That's
Wait,
fine.
it opens at
Has
certain times?
That's
Opening
opening hours.
Oh shit! I probably shouldn't have revealed that. Fuck. Yes, certain times only the tomb opens.
Why is that?
Well, it's when the what's it called? The big thing in the sky, the
The
Moon?
sun?
sun. Thank you. Yes, the sun. When that hits the tree, it causes the magical effect. Sorry, my brain isn't what it used to be. Something opens. Okay, sun tree opens. You understand? You
Like the
understand, you
leaves
know magic.
open? And the flowers?
Roman, could you make a wisdom saving throw for me?
Oh god, I was just about to ask you a question as well. 15.
15. Could you minus 3d4 for me?
Oh god.
Well, hell, it's coming for us all.
Well, hell.
Allow it, he coming.
12.
12. Okay, everyone else, Stefan, for a quick second. It's not going to be long.
Goodbye.
I'm scared.
Oh, cool. As you look around, you kind of look around trying to think maybe this creature is. Your eyes come straight into face with like a long neck that's stuck out of the floor. This pallid, sallow creature, like the face is almost serpentine, but too human to be entirely serpentine, just staring straight at you.
Do I
The
know what
most
this
unnerving.
is?
No. Make an Arcana check very quickly. Or sorry, a nature check. Sorry.
Why can't it be Arcana, Jamie?
Sorry.
Nature,
Yeah, nature or Arcana. Go for
Oh
it.
well.
Whichever one you add to
okay.
it. Whichever one's
Uh,
more.
Sorry. So I rolled a. Oh my god. 3, but
Right.
let's. My Arcana's 10, so that's a 13.
It almost resembles. Can you imagine that? Because 3, you only notice there are 2 other heads, and you're like, it almost looks like a Hydra, but its face is too humanoid. And the thing about it that's most unnerving, other than the pallid white skin, is that its eyes are just like burnt out black holes that almost look like they've been clawed out. And as it kind of opens its mouth, rather than a roar, you hear a vague, like melancholy singing. And as you turn to warn the party, you just forget its existence. It's gone from your mind. Roman does not know what happened in the past 5 seconds. And
Okay.
go back.
Lauren's spending all of that like.
Sorry. I should really.
Yeah, anyway.
So Roman will turn back to the halfling, and because he was about to ask, you seem rather out of sorts, and would he know whether she is displaying any symptoms of being under any magical confinement that he would know?
Yeah, go for an Arcana check.
Ooh, that's smart.
Because this doesn't seem like your average hit head on thingy. 16?
Scene, this creature, whoever it is, clearly has had its memory affected by something and has clearly attempted to write in its book to deal with it, but may or may not have started that too late.
Oh no. Bless
Oh.
her.
And he doesn't get the sense this was done by magic, or
You don't know what it's been done
okay.
Hit in the
by.
head
You
by a
know,
rock.
a couple of spells that could do it. You don't know if creatures could do it or not, but certainly your mind probably goes, Ghost has messed this creature up somehow.
Yeah. Okay. He would like. He says, "Excuse me. Do you mind?" And he like draws some like
That's the
runes
book.
and no. And he starts like drawing his runes to cast his magic, and he'd like to cast detect magic on her.
Yep. The staff is magical, but there's no kind of effect other than that.
Thank you. Sorry. Apologize. I didn't mean to startle you.
Well, Look, just so long as you're not damaging the tree, in the morning, I can show you where the entrance is at the right time. I'll come get you if you camp nearby, and just don't hurt the tree, okay? None of you.
Oh, we never would. We like trees.
Fantastic.
Where do you camp at night?
I'll get you. What, sorry?
I'm sure you would.
Where do you camp at night? Is there
I live in the
somewhere... The tree that you fell out of?
She kind of squints. Yep,
Do you want to camp on the ground with us?
absolutely not.
Can we camp in the
finish
tree
this
with
drawing.
you?
Nope, that's my house.
I have a
hill-
question.
hill-
Very
tree.
big house.
What's
It's nice.
magic like around here? Is it safe to cast?
Kind of scroll through it. Do not cast unless needed. No!
What a shame.
Okay.
Roman, could you
Oh.
roll a d200 for me?
Damn it.
I also casted a level 1 spell.
You did indeed, absolutely.
So do I also roll a d200?
Yep.
113.
40.
113. You're all kind of standing around, and Hayden and this creature switch places. And 40. Dispel, like, all of you are now under the effect of detect magic. Like, you can see each other's weapons and armor and amulets flare as all
Oh,
of you
no.
for the next 10 minutes have the detect magic effect.
Oh,
As
wow.
there's kind of a
Aren't we decked
surge of
out?
magic nearby, and you switch, and you and his, like, she kind of holds her book, backs away from all of you, and like holds a clutch of drawings, and is like, "What the hell is happening? What did you do?"
DM.
Yes.
Does Zug's armor give off an out magic aura?
+1, so it would.
I see. But like, do I know? Does it? I've never done detect magic before. Does it?
Yeah, absolutely. You're like your amulet, your sword, your armor, your sword is glowing. Like, you've never seen this before. All of you kind of see these vague hues, and if you've been trained in magic in any way, you might know what each of these hues mean towards which school. But like to you, suddenly everyone's just glowing.
Whoa.
Is anything else in the area glowing? Any particular notable locations?
Yeah, the entire tree is full of magic.
Cool, that's great. But I mean, like,
The
any
roots
more
spread
than
out.
anywhere else?
You see the grass is also vaguely magical. From where you are, kind of the area around, nothing jumps out as like this is the door. But whatever this area is, it is full of necrotic magic, which I know sounds ominous, but necrotic magic is healing magic. Like cure wounds is necrotic magic.
Oh.
We do be.
The halfling person would notice that Hayden's face has got illusion magic on it.
Oh no.
She kind of looks up and goes, makes a note next to the little drawing.
Well,
But she doesn't say anything, so that's fine.
No, it's a little note. Well, who are you all? I put names down here. You, and she points to Barnes.
Orange Costello at your service.
You, points to Hayden.
Vanton.
Okay, I did. You, points to Zug.
I'm Zug. Hello.
You, points to Roman.
My name is Roman.
Points to Ascor. Ascor. Points to Aeonir. Aeonir. Points to Const. And just kind of does that. And like, very good, very good. Aku? Sorry, there. Points to Aku.
Well, apparently she knows my name.
Apparently she knows it already. Rainbow.
He just stares at her.
He
Hot
doesn't.
boy.
He doesn't talk. Did you say hot boy?
She kind of scribbles something down. Okay. Do we have an impasse then?
Is there somewhere nearby that's safe to set up camp for the night?
This tree is wonderfully safe. It is, of course, a beacon of hope and joy from the Wild Mother.
But you said that
You
you're
will
the
be
guardian
safe
for
beneath
it, right?
its canvas.
Does that mean it gets attacked on the regular, or?
But it's still standing, so I'm good at my job. I hope. I think.
Okay.
We are fantastic at your job.
Thank you. I'm sure you are too.
So if we set up camp right here, when you fall out of your house tomorrow morning, you'll be nearby.
But yes.
Okay.
Do you plan on falling out of your house again?
I didn't plan on it the first time. I think. I hope. I think. No, I didn't. I did not plan.
Do you need some help getting back up, or are you good?
No, I'm fine. Thank you.
You're very
It
welcome.
kind of goes to begin scrambling up.
Cute.
It was weird.
Very dexterous.
Impressive.
Something not quite right about that one, though.
No, not at all. Remembers less than I do.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Anyway, let's find a good patch of ground.
Hayden waves his hand over his face and removes the disguise self magic now that she's gone.
While everyone's setting up camp, Roman wants to do a sort of brief investigation of the area to see if he can perhaps find this door ahead of time, or indeed find any areas that he might find any remnants of what Ghost was up to while he was here.
Yep, make an investigation check.
Hayden will go with Roman and look as well and help him with his elven eyes.
I'm gonna use frickin'
Advantage.
I'm gonna use. Oh, do I get advantage
Or
again?
actually, hold on. Are we doing a perception check or an investigation
It's
check?
investigation.
May I? With my reliable talents?
Fine.
Oh. 21.
21. So, having heard a little bit about the dreams that have been going on, you're perhaps looking at the trunk of the tree, and you do, kind of going around towards the more eastern side, see that there's like a slight slit where like something has clearly been carved into the tree, and around it there's the vaguest hint of rot spreading outwards.
Hayden points it out to Roman. What do you think? Your brother's work or ancient evil archfey?
Not sure about any Fae. I'm not certain how much influence Fae have.
Sorry,
Yeah.
archmage. That
Oh.
was Hayden's player being a dumbass.
Well, I couldn't say for certain how much influence any ancient evil archmages have. The Wild Mother herself planted this tree here, and this seems to be fairly recent, the pieces you've pointed out. Ghost... Oh, sorry. Elenia never was one for this type of magic, but I couldn't say for certain that it wasn't him. It's definitely not good or normal, though.
To be fair, I never really saw him cast much more than, I think he used to call it Wizard Blast, and occasionally summoning a little lump of eyeballs, so haven't seen him do anything like this, at least. But times have changed, and he is also 3 times bigger than he used to be, so...
Can I do some kind of, like, magical investigation? Check what kind... Like, obviously you said it's rot, but, like, get a sense of what spells
go
may
for
have
it.
caused it. Arcana?
Yep, Arcana.
Man, these bullshit rolls. 16.
16. You know that a lot of spells to do with kind of causing rot or accelerating decay, or right, is generally necromancy. You don't know if it's been cast here and this is the end of it, or if something was embedded here that's been removed. You're unsure what kind of has happened here, as it were. You know that whatever has happened here was necromantic in nature. You just don't know if it's ended or beginning.
This is outside of my area of expertise. I could surmise perhaps that there is... I can't really surmise anything from it, actually. I'm a bit stumped. Maybe if we had some sort of follower of the Wild Mother herself here, they could divine some meaning behind this or channel some of her energy into what happened here, but you're not a follower of the Wild Mother?
Jamie, would did the halfling say that she was a follower of the Wild Mother, or were the symbols and trinkets on her staff things that we would have recognized?
She didn't say.
So would we have recognized, like, is the Wild Mother symbology something that's very common that we would have recognized, or would that have required maybe a religion
Yeah, if
check?
any of you have, she's one of the like prime deities of Exandria.
Okay.
It would have been fairly obvious.
Cool. So Hayden turns to Roman. Maybe that halfling from earlier could help us out. Seems like they might have known. They might know about this kind of stuff.
That's true, although you would expect that a guardian of this tree would be abreast of issues like this and be able to put them to rights.
Well, she barely seemed abreast of her own name, to be perfectly honest.
Yes, it was rather concerning.
But if we draw it to their attention, maybe... Sorry, Jamie, what was this character's pronouns? Is she?
They didn't say that. She.
Okay, cool. Could draw her attention to it?
Sounds like a good plan for the morning.
Well, this might even be the
looking around-
entrance.
Oh, sorry, looking around, I was going to say, with the rest of your investigation checks, you kind of go along the route, you have a look. You're unable to find what you perhaps see as an entrance.
Cool. All right.
Nothing else sus.
Nothing else sus, particularly.
Okay.
All right, head back to the rest of the group.
Is the rest of the group camping, doing anything, talking about anything?
I didn't know my armor was magic.
Well, of course, Rasha made it.
Oh yeah. What does that mean? It casts spells? I don't understand.
No, it's just, everything Rasha does is good and shiny, and probably blessed it with the Geb to look after you or something.
Would you like it to cast spells?
Well, I don't know. I've never tried casting a spell.
I
wouldn't even know how to do it.
I could teach you how to cast a spell.
Can't learn how to cast spells. You have to be born with it.
Are you
That's
joking?
a funny thing
Maybe
to
it's
say.
Maybelline.
I can't tell if you're joking or not. Who told you this?
I think it's
my
quite
mum.
serious.
Somebody led you to believe that it's something you have to be born into.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Absolutely not. Everybody has the ability to obtain the knowledge for themselves and move the arcane with their own hands.
Oh.
So
Kind of stares at you with a slightly blank face.
should you like to learn how to cast a spell, I would be happy to school you in it.
What kind of spell?
What kind of spell would you like to cast?
I don't know.
Would you like to...
And I'm gonna pause this for a second. Can I make food?
Certain magic certainly can do that.
Wow.
Not something that I could teach you, I'm afraid. That isn't something I've studied myself.
Hold on, you don't all cast magic by default. You're telling... How'd you get your food if you don't whip it out of thin air?
Well, I'll just buy it. How else do you
buy
get
your food. You make it with magic. You summon it. You create it out of nothing.
Well, no, you
I wish
Well,
it was
are
that easy.
people
buy
not-
it from the street vendor. You buy it from the shop.
How are people not hungry all the time?
They are.
Buy it with what?
Money.
You have to spend... You have to spend to get the right to eat?
Yeah,
That's mad.
just how it is. You gotta eat.
You know what?
And you need
I
money
agree
to
with
eat.
him. It is mad.
And
well,
then
it
you
makes
gotta
sense.
work to
You
get
don't
money to eat.
contribute, you don't eat.
Yeah.
You know what? he's right. It shouldn't
What's
cost as much
happened to this
to get
place?
food.
Just how it
Oh,
always
it's
Kind of
Good.
people lying around, doing nothing.
and you gotta work to get money so you can have a house, so then you can get an address, so then you can get a job because you need an address to have a job.
And the
I'm
harder you work,
starting-
the more you're rewarded.
I'm starting to see why y'all have so many issues. Sounds like a lot to manage.
Well, certain people, it is their calling in life to inhabit spaces of agriculture and such.
A noble
Sure, it's a
cause.
hobby.
Feeding the rest of us.
Sure, but that's like a thing you do for fun, not for necessity. Wow.
No, it is quite necessary that people serve me.
Wow. That sounds very Vespin, you know.
Sounds like a wise man.
Not sure that's what you should be taking from that Askel.
That's the exact opposite of Vespin Chloras. Anyway, I was thinking I might play a song for you, a good one tonight. Bit of a celebration for making it here. Do you mind?
Ooh, I'd love that.
He sits down and he gets out his instruments and they all seem to play in tandem. He's on his dulcimer, but the viola kind of floats up into the air. And there's sort of like a shimmer about him. Could you all make wisdom saving throws for me, please?
Oh my god.
A what?
You want me?
Curse your sudden but inevitable betrayal of Barnes.
12.
Wisdom
Oh,
saving throw.
That's a fail.
Am I near Aku?
Do we get an Aku bonus? Don't matter.
Doesn't
Fail.
matter.
Just so you
Askell
guys know, I
rolls-
was.
oh, do we do-
holding
Askell
Aku's
rolls 15
hand
with
and
Aku
standing
bonus.
at the next to him.
Wait, do I get an Aku bonus? How much is Aku bonus again?
I don't know. I will say, given how you all incessantly get at me, you
Mine's a fail.
take it.
Wait, what?
DC, the DC 17. So
Okay,
I
Askell
don't think
fails.
I'd make it with the because I'm 12. So even with it, I don't think I'd get it.
Was it wisdom, did you say? Sorry?
wisdom,
Wisdom,
yeah.
Am I standing next to Aku because I fancy him?
Yes.
Yes! Yes! Simping finally paid off!
Finally.
Jamie, stop rewarding simping.
How much bonus does
Plus
Aku's
5.
wisdom? Yes. I passed it.
Well, anyone who fails is charmed for the next hour. As you watch,
Wait, I get
Only the
advantage on
next
being
hour.
charmed.
you watch an immensely enthralling performance. You can't take your eyes away from it, and this is just the best thing you've ever heard. And for the next hour, you just feel incredibly fond of this new addition to your party, and he just plays for the majority of it, looks fairly at peace and content as he continues. And for those not charmed, well, you listen to some nice music regardless. You just don't feel the same adoration otherwise.
Okay, those of you who are charmed, it's incredible, it's magical, it's brilliant. Those of you, it's still a great performance, but there's no that magical element there that kind of focuses your eyes and you just can't tear your eyes away from Barnes. And at the end, you give a standing ovation, those of you who are charmed. The rest of you kind of sit there like, that was nice, but these guys are overreacting a little bit.
Trail, no, that comes later.
Hayden kind of awkwardly claps because everyone else is clapping.
Askell standing up like, bravo, bravo, bravo.
Roman joins him. Very moved.
Kind of nods to himself. Yeah, still got it. Great.
So kind of like walks over to you and he goes, you know what would go great with music? And kind of like ale. And then he goes, which can you make it? You know, you said you can make food. Can you make drink?
Oh, sure, yeah, let me just... And he reaches into his bag and, like, again, muscle memory just pulls out something and presses a few buttons. And he presses them again and again. And he looks up at Zug and says, oh, do you know what? I don't think I can right at this moment. Seems I've
Oh.
rather joined you in the camp of having to work for food.
Wait, we do
So
have
good.
ale, and
Slightly upset.
Hayden pulls the alchemy jug out of his bag.
Was that a spell? Sorry.
No.
Okay.
We've got
Alchemy
this.
jug, sorry.
And Hayden brandishes the alchemy jug. No mayo. He points to Zug.
No, it's no mayo, I promise. I just want ale. You know, we're having a good time.
Uncorks a couple sniffs.
Pretty
Finds the right
rough
one.
recently.
Okay. This one does ale, and he hands you the alchemy jug with the ale port opened.
The ale pour. He just starts, snacking on it, having a good time.
He probably plays for about like 15 minutes, and the rest of the 45 minutes is, just hanging out with the charmed folk and enjoying.
Okay. So, drifting off eventually, as you will do afterwards, is there any who wants to talk to each other first? Okay.
Can Roman and I do another little box check?
Yes, absolutely. Fifth night, go for the box check. You
Box
didn't succeed the
check.
last one before, so D10 from Barnes, I presume, and a advantage on the roll.
Mm-hmm.
Hayden's
Obviously,
watching
he's playing.
intently.
Everyone's inspired right now.
Natural 20.
Baby, that was
roll a D10
Oh,
as well.
baby.
First levy. Just a 4.
Okay, 30. This time, looking through, twisting and turning, you stop for a moment, and actually you realize maybe there's you're more cautious because again you feel the arcane feedback building as every time you twist and turn it doesn't work, and you put it on the ground and you kind of walk around, and for too long, maybe slightly too long, as you keep rotating right around Hayden's like, but you haven't touched the box in like half an hour. You're like just thinking like, how do I stop this? And you come back and you just, this time it reveals itself, and you kind of like hold it up to the sky, seeing the moon reflected on it, and twisting finally and pushing down at the right angle. Whatever happens, there's like a thud click and something pops out, and whatever like little mechanism was holding that like wall in place is now popped out and landed on the floor, and you see like a little spring with arcane curls on it that kind of fade into the night as they dispel. And 4 out of 9, you believe.
I'm so
Oh
excited.
my gosh.
Oh, good job.
We're getting so close. I can.
You've rolled
Almost.
over like you've had. I think your lowest has been 26 for this. Like
No. I think my lowest was like 22.
Bardic
20.
inspiration at this level is nutty.
Oh my goodness. You
So-
know, we are so close to solving this, Hayden. I can taste Esicthalus's bitter tears of sadness in my mouth. I can imagine it.
That's very graphic description of that revenge, but I'm really
Really
happy
wasn't.
we've almost opened this box. What do you think will be inside? Do you have any ideas? Do you think it's like incriminating evidence of illegal activities, or like embarrassing baby photos, or
I think it will be at least 200 years of one-upmanship that he will never be able to get over on me. He will never recover from this.
have you been rivals for 200 years?
I am only 110 years old.
Well, your constipation that happens, and you maybe you were rivals near the lifetime before that as well. Consecration, sorry.
Consecution.
Oh fuck. Okay, yeah, consecution.
I have not fully settled in to that, and if you don't mind me saying, that is a rather personal thing to arbitrarily bring up in a conversation about me destroying my lifelong rival.
Sorry.
However, you possibly are correct, but all I know is for the next 200 years,
Right. Okay. I follow you now. Yeah.
I will destroy him.
Mhm.
Mentally,
Mhm.
one day, physically perhaps.
Mhm. Do you still want to kill Esicthalus?
So much.
Is that before or after
So
you
much.
destroy him?
After we will destroy him, and then we'll get Rasha to resurrect him, and then I will make him beg me for mercy, and then we will kill him.
Yes, I have similar fantasies about Vespin and Chlorast. Can this Rasha bring him back for me so I can slap him?
Well, if Rasha were with us, I'm sure he could tell you.
I'll ask him when we meet. I can't even remember what Vespin looks like. I just know it's a horrible face. Monstrous and deformed. Terrible.
That pretty much lines up with everything we understand about him. So
Not long now.
Going to bed, and you are all kind of sleeping underneath this vast canopy. It is the best night's sleep most of you have had, even those of you who have been plagued by dreams of restlessness during the night, of hard thing, and even you Barnes feel rested and restored underneath this beacon of the Wild Mother, surrounded by this landscape. And you all gain 12 temporary HP for sleeping underneath the canvas of the Arbor Exemplar.
Oh, that's nice.
Oh, thanks, Tree.
Thanks, Tree.
yes, mummy, wild mummy, thank you.
And as you're all, however, quite abruptly, despite feeling well, you're all woken up by the sound of a bell ringing, as the small halfling is kind of walking through your camp, and you see kind of Constantine walking over, and Charmaine is like, wake up, it's nearly time.
Has 4 hours passed? Have I?
Yeah, this is like 7-8 hours. Yeah.
Cool.
Oh, it's nearly time, guys.
Now, attention, please, in a line. Come on.
Gets
Go,
up
go,
and gets
go,
into a
go,
line.
go, move.
Get into a line.
Quickly.
Absolutely.
Gets into a line.
Yes, ma'am.
She kind of looks on. Where is Veldrin? Veldrin?
Who,
Whose fake name was that?
Oh, fuck. That's me. That's me.
No, you have a different fake name here.
Oh.
Veldrin, tall, drow, not one of these two. That's Aelia, that's Clonst, different one.
There were
Wow.
only 3 of us.
There were only 3. She kind of like puts a drawing on your floor, and you see all of you laid out with another figure standing next to you. And she kind of.
Is
Yeah,
that
but,
a name familiar to us?
Yo, that's spooky.
No, for limited none of you. And she puts like an X through it and sighs. And
What does this person look like?
Veldrin, they look, so from the drawing you can see like a very long-haired male drow, kind of such a thing, wearing what looks to be like similar to what Roman would have been wearing coming out the portal, but looking a lot finer. Seems to be wearing the outfit and guard outfit of House Everthil. Presumably looks to be a guard of House Everthil. And as she kind of like looks down, oh well, not worthy. And you see her draw like an X through him. And as she kind of like, she looks up at you and goes, nothing to do with it, and puts it away.
Is this implying that this person came with us yesterday?
Did you say that to her, or
No. This is Claude asking.
maybe?
Bruh, that's really spooky.
No one Roman recognizes, even
Uh,
though.
Roman looks at it, and you don't recognize the name.
I'm spookhead.
And
she-
the likenesses of her drawings quite exact.
Quite exact, yeah.
And no one he recognizes by face either.
No.
And this man was with us when we arrived yesterday, in your perception.
Yes, she takes out other drawings, and you see that, like, some of them, there are various groups, different adventurers or parties of pilgrimage, and occasionally, not in all of them, occasionally there is an X through some of them. She kind of goes through her book, and she goes, if devoured, memories lost.
What?
That's the only note I make. Sometimes people appear with. It's why I do the drawings. Sometimes you approach with a group, and the next day, one is gone, and memories gone.
Yeah, but
too.
the opposites happened here. There's an extra one.
Yeah.
No,
that was not-
he
Or
would
we
have
don't
been with
remember
you.
them.
He would have come with you all this time. He would have been to you every step, and now he is gone. As are his memories in each of you.
Can we see the picture?
Sure. Yes. She hands it over.
And is it someone that we recognize?
None of you recognize.
I mean, what's up with this outfit? You
It says
recognize it?
it says here actually I believe he was the guide you brought with you.
He brought a guide, imagine that.
We did not have a guide.
No.
Or we just don't remember that we did. Wow. who devours, may I ask? Who ate our friend Veldrin?
And this is
She kind of like
supposed to
pulls
be a
over the
safe
page,
space.
and there's like a white, pallid, like face, humanoid serpentine face almost, with like eyes like scratched out, pulling from it, and goes, I do this. She kind of like goes through a couple of pages, and multiple pages over and over and over again have this in various stages of like hastily drawn. I don't remember, but I've drawn this multiple times, and each time I don't remember having drawn it or when or where, but it's in my book.
That's very creepy, I've got to say. Does this face look like humanoid? Like a
It looks a weird combination of like serpentine and humanoid, like almost angled in the same way, but like this nose structure isn't serpentine. The face is almost too round, but then
Is it
the
like
it's
Voldemort?
almost
I was gonna
pointed.
say,
Yeah,
is-
like very Voldemort.
is it Tom Marvolo
Like the
Riddle?
main thing is like the thing that is captured in each one of these drawings is that the eyes are sunken black and almost look like they've been clawed out.
But they have a nose.
And
Yeah.
we have no memory of seeing this creature.
No.
Can I make some kind of intelligence or arcana or
Go
check?
for it. Arcana.
If I see Roman thinking about it, Bonds is gonna lean in and say, "Rack your brains, Archmage.
Mm,
Give him a D10."
Good time.
Oh, okay. God, I need it. Hey, 26, baby.
26.
Nice.
So it almost looks. I think I may have said this to you before. It almost
Yeah.
looks like a Hydra. There's something about the fact that occasionally 2 or 3 of these are drawn together that, like, you're like, if this wasn't almost creepily humanoid, that would immediately where your head would go. And just the concept of a creature that you might like, this person must have seen. This isn't a particularly interesting drawing. It nags at your mind for a second. Like, there was a couple of split seconds yesterday that you just don't remember what happened in those. And the idea of a creature that can make you forget seeing it, you haven't heard about it. But would anyone have ever heard about it?
And would he be able to come to a conclusion about how to protect yourself from such a creature were it to try and, I don't know, I guess the conclusion he would draw that this lady has been losing her memories and we have all lost the memory of a person who has supposedly traveled with us. And
You imagine that short of writing it down and short of defeating this creature, you're unsure.
something is certainly afoot here, and we are in a shared state of amnesia, I suppose.
Into the club.
I really hate these kinds of creatures. Why can't everything just, be simple? Why can't I just punch it?
I suggest if you see this creature, and he sort of like points to the drawings, the first thing you do is
Could all of you
punch
make
it.
wisdom saving throws.
Ooh,
And minus, you're all, I'll say you all have the +5 from Aku, but you will also need to minus 3d4.
Wisdom save.
16 plus
Wisdom
5,
save, yeah.
21. Minus 3d4.
Yeah.
Yikers.
That is a big yikes.
Oh, yikes.
Oh.
Who has +5, right?
I rolled an 11.
That's a 10.
So I got 21 minus 7, so
14.
14.
I got a 15.
15. I'll roll for Askell. Wisdom saving throw, +5 for Aku, so that's 13. Oh, so that's 6. He fails. Aku, what'd you get?
Was it 3d4?
3d4, yeah.
Okay, hang on, I rolled the wrong thing. So that is 23 minus 4, so 19.
19. All of you, as you're kind of like looking around, unnerved by this realization, you all come face to face. A couple of probably 10, 30 feet off, so 10, 20 feet off, 3 heads poke out the ground of this creature mirroring this. And as you all look at it, there's this shattering, low singing coming out of it that hypnotizes each of you. And those of you who turn away for a single second, forget it exists. Except as these heads retract down into the ground, except for Roman and Aku, who you stay transfixed on this creature, beating its DC and the fact that 3 of its heads were singing. And as it sinks into the ground, there is no memory loss for you. As the rest of the party kind of benignly look around, unnerved by this, but they do not seem to have noticed. Despite seconds ago staring at these heads, you two see it sink down. You are aware of its existence, and the memory is fresh in your mind that this creature has just burrowed beneath the ground after coming up, singing at each of you, and then retreating down.
I suppose we better be on the lookout.
I saw it.
So what?
Any thought?
Is there any disturbance in the earth where it retreated?
Yeah, as you run over, you see that kind of like it's kind of filled a little bit the tunnel way behind it, but clearly this earth is like disturbed.
You see this? This is where it just appeared from. I saw it.
So what?
The creature.
What creature?
I didn't see anything.
The creature that she has drawn. The one we were just discussing.
What was it like? Like just a face? What?
It was 3 necks with 3 heads, and it sang at us, and I assume this is what it has been doing since we arrived here to, oh gosh, what do we do? No one else has seen it.
I mean, I saw it.
You saw it.
Really?
Okay. If it appears again, if you see this creature, we must stop it. That sounds rather simple said out loud. I agree. But there is something horribly wrong with this place. I don't think a creature like this should be here, and I do not believe it to be doing anything good. Not with a face like that.
Do you think that's a creepy tomb thing, rather than a happy trees and leaves thing?
Yes, the tomb. I must show you where it is.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
please do. I guess
Jamie-
we'll just have to think of something.
Do Roman and I remember the little bit of rot that we saw yesterday around the side of the tree?
Yes.
Um,
Just aware of the time.
ah,
Looking at it, I don't know if you have someone to raid. Thank you, Kaz, for raiding us, by the way. I'll give you Erin a couple of seconds, but if we
I've got someone
stop
lined up.
early- Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
With the slightly creepy memory creature, whatever it is, and with the rot needing to be investigated, and you guys finally arriving in the Arbor Exemplar, and with perhaps
Yay.
missing a party member whose memories are gone, we shall leave it there. Thanks for playing, guys.
Valdrin,
I will
a
see
friend I didn't know I had.
I know, right?
Maybe you guys look at some evidence on your persons that maybe Valdrin left behind.
Jamie, I'm
Who's Vald?
scared.
I feel like I
Physical
recognize the name
evidence of
Valdrin.
another
Me too. I've definitely recognized
Did
the
he
name.
bring us the thing from House Everthil, like the bags?
Maybe.
See that guy?
Is everyone in the raid? I think so. Okay, cool. I'm gonna hit the button, and we'll see
You guys gonna have to
next
scour
week.
your notes.
Bye.
What do you mean notes? What are you talking about?
Oh,
sunshine as much as everybody else. It's not that I like it gloomy and rainy, I just don't check. I got blankets over the windows to keep my recordings echo free. I'm satisfied to be inside, I'm all the time up in my mind. An automatic fire until I'm shooting play.